Welcome here, everyone. We are excited to get underway with the continuation of the GSL stage of the Aegis Esports Champions League. I'm very excited to be here because this is my first time being here. I'm all
Yeah,
excited, of course, to go ahead and cover some amazing action. My name is Orbital. With me is, of course, Quax, who has been here so many times. I'm very excited. Quax, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. And Orbital, I haven't been on the Salt Mine cast for a fat minute. We are in week 3 of the ACL GSL stage, and this is my first time being back here. So welcome to the cast, Orbital. I am happy to be back, though, especially for such an interesting matchup here this week. We have Weber State University versus the Uncles. Both teams sitting at 1-1. This is also a bit of a rematch, Orbital, but with an asterisk, because the last time these guys played each other was in that first week of the GSL, but it was an FF. Unfortunately, Weber State could not play that one out. Something happened, so it is their loss being an FF, and the win for Uncles is a FF as well. So both of these teams looking to get their hands dirty in this series and looking for that sense of identity going into this third week.
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting portion because, again, as you stated, no one really gets eliminated right now, but taking that extra step
Yeah.
towards that 4-win situation and getting out of the playoff situation, essentially kind of breaking through some of the weeks that you could have to stack up more games. And you and I, we've seen the Swiss stages for so long. We know what can happen in some of these. You really
Yeah.
don't want to be heading into the final week like, dude, I still need a win. You don't want to be some of those final teams that are actively
Yeah.
chasing that final victory. And I love the fact that you pointed out an identity for Uncles, because Uncles is such an interesting story. Has a homie that I know very, very well, Garrett Meyerson, very fun player. But one of the things is Garrett may or may not have been in some of the previous matches as well. They recently came off a loss to Galaxy, but that whole thing, as you were mentioning, they didn't have their main roster. So for Uncles
Yeah.
here, it's also a testing ground saying, hey, we got our full squad. We're going to try and bring some pain.
But there is a bit of a silver lining to that identity that we can work off of, Orbital, to be going forward, because most of the players on this Uncle's team were under the brand of Titan Esports from that NACLOQ. So we remember how these guys played together. If you were privy to that tournament, if you watched that tournament, I sure hope you did, because it was a banger. You know a little bit on how these guys like to play. The biggest change, though, definitely for me, is going to be Debonair. I feel like Debonair in particular, we know this guy is a mid laner, but it says here he is going to be their top laner. So having a role swap going forward. And then on the other side, we've got a completely different top laner for Weber State as well in Batao, the only player that isn't on the CLOL squad. And let's take a moment for a bit here, Orbital, to talk about that Weber State squad in CLOL. They're currently in the top 32. They're in the lower bracket. They're playing against Grandview tomorrow. So a win here, not only would it give them a sense of identity, a sense of, oh, we're halfway there to those 4 wins, but it would be a good, I would say, mental bolster going into tomorrow.
Yeah, that is a huge part about it. They want to keep getting their wins. They have someone that they are hoping is going to lead the charge here in Goku. Now, of course, we could dive a little bit more in, but we know we want to get this fearless BO3 started. So let's go
Yes.
ahead and head into that draft to see which champions are actually going to be piloted here. And again, when we talk about fearless, it's all, good and dandy. We see the same bands pretty much all the time. It's the champions that generally change. And that's what we're going to be kind of excited to see here. Seeing those bands come out usually is a bit targeted, but for Weber, they are going to be on that blue side to start things off, which should feel fairly comfortable. They don't have to ban the Gwen or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm expecting Weber to probably target that mid lane. You can see that Victor ban right out of the gate. Lycomaz is a player that was on Dogfans during the NACL OQs and was one of, I would say, the most shocking players. I mean, this was a roster that no one expected to make it far, and they had not one, but 2 chances to promote into the NACL. They made it so unbelievably far, and Lycomaz was a massive catalyst for that success. And so I think if Weber State want a chance at really taking this series in convincing fashion, they're going to have to target that mid lane. But it's like you said, right? Uncles on the red side, they are sort of locked into certain bans. The Gwen is one. The Nefiri is another. That Ambessa as well. Still really strong. So there are certain required bans by red side in this first phase. And that could give Weber State a potential upward swing in the first half of this draft for some of those stronger picks, maybe that they prefer.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the difficult parts to deal with. And honestly, for uncles, you kind of sit there and go, okay, maybe you guys have to, let some of these power picks through. And unfortunately, there's just so many that you can't. That's the thing. Normally, I would sit there and say, let some of the power picks through. You let one side grab one, you grab two more. It's
Yeah,
almost impossible now to do that. It is very difficult
yeah,
to try and pull that off. If you are ballsy. Granted, we want to see some of those guts and cojones whenever we see some of these teams play. We want to see them really fight. But surprisingly enough, Weber are the ones that actually pick up and take
yeah.
away the Mbessa, saying they don't want to deal with it. They did ban out the Viego, so U13 not really getting that comfort pick, or not GFB, sorry, GFB not getting that Viego, and then the Mbessa sent straight up to Debonair's non-existent pickup for the hands.
Throwing a Varus ban under the bus as well, throwing down that away from Sendy. I know that Varus is one of the champions that he really prefers, but there are plenty of other really good marksmen up and available. I'm kind of interested to see if Weber State want to pick up a marksman first, and they're going to meet us halfway. Half a marksman is what we're going to get here for Weber right out of the gate. Jace going to be locked in, most likely going to be going over to Betao in the top lane. Of course, Jace has a little bit of flexibility to go into that mid lane, but we know Goku more as the guy who likes to play those mages. So almost certainly, I would imagine, not going to go in that direction.
No, and now you can go ahead and start ramping up. As soon as you see that Jace, you can start to assume maybe it's going to be a majority focused poke comp. So let's get the tanks in there. Let's start looking at maybe that mid to late game action. You lock in that Sejuani, and GFE is just like, hey, that's perfect. I am going to be fine in a solid kind of engagement tool aspect, and that's going to make me really happy. Not only that, they're gearing up for even more. If they lock in the Poppy, that is a stalwart frontline,
Yeah.
whether that Poppy is in the top side or the support.
And now I'm wondering if Weber State have any kind of threat on that Yone. They don't want to give that necessarily to the mid lane. They want to deny that Sejuani Yone combo. So there is a possibility for them to just straight up take that away. But then that leaves you in a position where you have double AD soul lanes and will almost certainly have to throw something in that jungle to fulfill that AP magic damage niche, which is a possibility, but one that I'm not sure Weber State want to go for this early in the draft. Instead, they're just going to go straight for the quirky. I imagine they're probably not going to just sink their teeth into mid lane here. I would say that the most pivotal matchup of this series definitely is mid lane. So priority for Goku getting that counter pick is certainly raised, and they actually are going to go for that mid lane, that jungle AP threat, the Lilia, the next best thing to the Gwen, but unfortunately it was banned.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I like a Lilia at the end of the day, though. Whenever you know it's going to get rough and tumble in the front lines, you go ahead and get
Yeah,
that Lilia, start burning through some of the HP. I mean, Lilia to me is one of the best as well. I mean, you talked about the Gwen, but I love
there it
Lilia's
is.
burn damage. And there's the Yone. I mean, we kind of knew that. So now it's the Corki versus Yone, which is going to be explosive in its own. But I really like that Lilia pickup early as well. Weber making sure that it can't get banned out in future because you knew this kind of draft was coming out here. So now for uncles, you got to take a focus at that bot side. You got to start saying, hey, are we going to ban out a lot of those supports? And it looks like they are taking away a lot of those engaged tools. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Nautilus in there as well. Just keep all the
Mhm.
aggression away. Rel also on that table.
Yeah. Rel, I like that call out. A lot of, I would say, upfront, frontline damage esque supports are going to be the priority for uncles going forward. However, looking a little bit closer at this Yone, I feel like there is a non-zero chance, very, very small, but it is there, that Yone could go in the top lane. I mean, Debonair, we know him as a mid
Ooh,
laner,
yeah.
so he knows how to pilot those mid lane picks, and maybe it's going to be uncles playing toward that gotcha switch 'em up strategy to throw off Weaver in this first game. Yone, also not a horrible matchup for Jace if this is actually Jace in the top lane, assuming it doesn't get flexed to that mid lane. A lot of flexibility still open, though, for Weaver. Uncles, however, now the question kind of becomes, what do you want to put in that AD role? I would imagine they're probably going to
Yep.
pick up that AD carry. We are expecting this Corki to go into the bot lane, but no, it's actually going to be an
Ooh.
ADC fifth pick as Gragas hits the Rift.
And that pretty much forces the Poppy into that support role, which we kind of alluded to earlier,
No.
but I still left the opportunity up. I know that you can bring a Poppy into a Jace. It's not great in the early phases, but it can work mid to late. But there is going to be kind of that all-around poke style that we talked about with some engage. Or at this point, it's actually going to be disengaged. The Rel automatically locked in with that way, and now you're looking for even more dive with the Kaisa, ready to chase after the likes of the Corki, which is now obviously slated to go towards that bottom lane. So you can see clear identities. I would say maybe
Yeah.
maybe the players are obviously locked in, but the team comes as well. Very one directional in kind of what they want to do.
But I feel like there are similarities in this comp as well. Particularly, I'm looking at that mid jungle, right? Obviously, when you look at uncles, it's clear as day. Sejuani Yone, this is a combo that every single team that loves to run through mid will just try to get their hands on at every available opportunity. Weaver, though, very upfront in the damage department. Hwei plus Lilia is going to hurt real bad toward that late game if they can get the ball rolling. Double burn, especially against a team that only really has one dedicated tank in that Sejuani, could spell disasters for uncles if that mid-jungle duo is left unchecked. And so I am probably anticipating a lot of action toward that middle side of the map. I think grubs are going to be a really big objective for both of these teams as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of support action in the wake of roaming, right? Obviously, Kai'Sa and Corki can scrap it out, can carry it in their own right, but I feel like they are more likely to veer away from bot lane and really start to get on the map toward those solo lanes more often.
Yeah, make sure to try and maybe even hamper that way in the mid lane. We talked about the fact that Goku is going to be such a big deal for Weaver to kind of carry, and you put him on a champion that scales very well into the late game, but it's immobile. And when you see the likes of a Poppy, of a Yone, you know you want to throw down with the best of them. So we are into game number 1 immediately, expeditiously, as both teams are ready to go here in the ACL, the Aegis Champions League, week number 3. Let's go.
And right out of the board, looking at both teams, really interesting summoner choice from Debonair on the support role in particular. It is actually Debonair in the support role, not the top lane. It's Paradise City in the top lane instead.
Oh.
So we have a bit of a switch up. We said we really wanted to see uncles at full power, but, you know, 85% ain't too bad at the end of the day. But, you know, going back to that summoner spell choice, heal on this Poppy is really interesting. Ordinarily, whenever you see Poppy, you are almost certainly going to expect an Ignite to come through, an aggressive laning phase, particularly in those first 1 to 3 levels. But maybe Uncle's bot lane have a different idea here, Orbital.
Yeah, this is, I am very curious to just see how it plays out overall. Paragon and Debonair, like these two, going to be trying to hold it down. Early stages, I think, may be a little bit testing, but again, the range is going to be matched. Right now, we do see the invade, though, like a Moss, looking into this jungle side, knows that you're not really going to be able to challenge early, as Goku actually went for the E first, getting that quick stun or roots down as soon as possible. But the Lilia already converging, and the fact that you actually force GFP all the way back, that is actually a lot of time loss. Huge pickup by Weaver State.
Especially GFP, I mean, in these early phases, Sejuani not exactly known as the fastest clearer in the world, so it's going to significantly, I would say, hamper not only the clear, but the ability for the Sejuani to get out on the map and actually make things happen in the lanes. That's what we're expecting from this pick. That's what it is, you know, drafted for. And now that it's got that stifled just a little bit, it certainly seems like some windows have closed. You can see, though, that Seju's actually crossing over, and that is spotted on vision. You can see U13 is roaming down. I'm interested to see if maybe we see a fight break out this early on.
Well, it looks like they might actually look to contend. Again, U13 currently has a little bit of XP under their belt, and I think they were able to seal away one, not the full. So GFB was able to collect enough, but I mean, U13 isn't backing down. You're not allowing this vertical challenge, and you're really stifling out, again, uncles from what they want to do. And because of that, not only that, Paragon getting a little bit of solo XP, but GFB going to be put very far behind. Now noted as well, Lycamons tried to help out as well, but, you know, you were tagged a little bit here and there. You have the door and shield, though, so you're going to be fine. Topside, though, Paradise running into a little bit of a rough time against Bateo, just having Batao just saying, hey, let's go ahead and have that challenge. Mid lane, we're seeing Leica Moss try and fight this out, but that fear going down, and now the spell rotation is up. So we are seeing trading to a very high level. It's Leica Moss getting chunked out to pretty much 100 HP.
Leica Moss really wants to try and shove this wave under tower and get the reset, but you can see that Goku is just not letting the wave crash. U13 is also in the area, so Lilia could potentially try to punish just this desperation from the Yone, potentially look to get that first blood.
And there's going to be the swing. Nice slash just outside of range of that Q sweep. But that does mean Leica Moss is going to have a very rough lane. I don't know if you're able to get it. What is that minion there? But Tao as well trying to shove down his Weaver State University, looking like the masters here in the early stages of the game.
Absolutely. Both Uncle solo laners surviving by the skin of their teeth. It could have just as easily turned into 2 quick kills for Weber State on the top side of the map, but already we're seeing some adaptation from the Uncles. 4.5 minutes in, and you can see Paragon and Debonair already roaming toward the top side, going for a lane swap, but Weber State seem to be reacting to it well. Both bot lanes reset, and so this will give time for Sendy and Mystiques to look forward to countering that, going up toward the top lane, and denying any sort of shenanigan-esque advantages from the Uncles.
I feel at this point, Uncles do need the shenanigans to actually get a little bit further ahead. The fact that GFB is currently sitting on this top side and effectively looking to try and chase in and was spotted on a ward as well means that we are going to have a collision. Paradise City, once again, down about a wave or so, about wave and a half, I think. We are going to have to wait and see until the Gragas gets up to the right point, but as you called, topside having some shenanigans. Dragon just now spawning, so still a minute left on these grubs. So we'll be a little bit of timer. U13 clearing out their side, though, getting a healthy jungle lead.
Now the question becomes, off reset, what does GFP actually want to accomplish? Those grubs are coming up in less than a minute. That dragon is there, like you mentioned, orbital. So both objectives going to be ripe for the taking for both of these teams. And honestly, in the case of Uncles, I feel like you are just a little bit too far behind in the map to be the ones actually choosing which one you want to go for. So you have to make that cross-map decision. And I like this adaptation from Sejuani saying, all right, well, we have 2 players in the top side. We can get priority in that top lane. I might even come here to help them get that, and we'll just try to steal away those grubs. But you can already tell Weber State not in the mood to let this happen.
No, I mean, they've ruled, I would say, a decent chunk here in the early game as Paradise just kind of diving in and out of that one. But I mean, when you're already this far in the lead in terms of lane prowess and lane strength, you don't want to give this one over for free. Grub number 1 going down here. Dragon hasn't been challenged, of course, so it is just a full-on fight on the top side. Level 6 being hit by both of the mid laners, so this could be a chance. One more grub, left flash in, into it, done, and they are going to get damaged. Debonair is going to fall very quickly for first blood. That is going to be Weber State University grabbing one, and they do grab the other grub, which now means Uncles are in a horrendous position, and just like that, it's 3 to the side of WSU.
It's 2 grubs for Uncles, but 3 dead in return. Weber State capitalizing off of the priority in mid, off of the back from U13, having those faded ashes, the Lilia hitting like a truck and getting a truckload of resources in return. 2 kills over to U13. We said that the Lilia was one of the big carries of this comp, and it is eating good in the early phases of this game.
I mean, so comfortable, and you can chalk it up to a great early game. And you already mentioned that U13 early on snapping into enemy side jungle and now getting an advantage over, and understanding that you want to wait, you want to give time to your bottom lane who are on the top side to go ahead and get a little bit more XP, zone in to that level 5 for Sendy, and then float your way into the mix. It was so well timed. And now you get control, because check this out, GFB is actually behind in rotational value now, so pretty much all the global objectives are going to be met. It's never going to be a trade anymore. It feels like at this point Weber State University are going to be really comfortable with constantly challenging at these dragons, at these grubs, or even at the heralds later.
For sure, and I feel like it makes a bad situation worse, because even before those 3 kills went over to Weber State University, you had U13 nearly doubling the CS of GFP. I mean, GFP, we panned over to it when he was taking that red buff. He just hit level 5. He is around the experience of the supports in this game, Orbital.
Oh, well, Mystique this time, though, realizing that a 1v3 like that is different than a 3v3. Down goes Mystique. But of course, for that current moment, you're doing okay for yourself. Topside is feeling very comfortable, so, you know, for Sendy, you're like, hey, I didn't die. I don't got to worry. But now you're meeting up with GFB in this tri-bush, and you're doing a lot of damage, actually, but that's going to be the dive in as Paragon says, I want to fight. That's going to be a great stun. GFB flashes over the wall, though. Debonair not going to be able to reach. Hextech does nothing. Heal helps, though, and it will be Paragon to pick up that tower dive kill, or tower roundabout kill? I'm not too sure. Mystique, though, joining back in and saying, okay, maybe I don't want this.
It was a good look initially there from Sendy, just saying, all right, let's fight GFP. I mean, the wave hasn't crashed onto the turret. I can 1v1 the Sejuani. I am strong. the killer instinct to follow up. They weren't prepared for that, and as a result, it's not just one, but maybe 2 kills over to Paragon.
Ooh. And I like this. Paragon and Debonair really stepping up here. And we know that, you know, we talked about the early laning phase is not going well for Uncle. So the fact that Paragon and Debonair are actively stepping up, actively looking to try and make these fights, actually makes me very, very happy. Paradise underneath this tower in the bottom side. I mean, stepping in here, big shout out. I'm not sure what happened, but is stepping in down about 20 CS against Vital, who, when it comes to this dragon that should be coming up, will be a big testing ground in the mid lane, though. Like a Miles, once again, kind of struggling. Is up in CS though, so very comfortable in that aspect, but still getting challenged by U13.
For sure. I mean, Goku is really laying the hurt on Lycamaz, but credit to Lycamaz. Oh wait, that was an ultic assault uses. Hold on.
Okay, Vital. Okay. We kind of knew that was going to happen when we saw the HP difference, but I mean, Vital just rips that cord and sends it, and now we already know the top lane, Vital versus Paradise. Vital is going to be a menace later on.
Yeah. Not only is the kill goal given over to the Jace, but it's also a 30 CS difference, basically. At 10 minutes, this Jace already has around 10 CS PM, so it is a very, very big hammer boy, lore-accurate Jace from Arcane coming through here in game number 1. And now Weaver State wrestle control of that top side. They're going to start on the grubs, but we've seen these things before. We've played these games before, Orbital!
Yes, we have, and that's a big pickup there right now for Paragon. You're going to try and do some work. 2-piece fight, though, as now you're going to get your jump back in. You, though, U13 demolish here, and like a Moss having the same issue. That is going to be a 1-for-1 on either end, but big pickups here for the side of Uncles as they were able to collect all 3, I believe. What a chance and a half stark difference from earlier.
Yeah, they get 4, Weaver State get 2, so those mites are going to make a difference as Mystiques barely just outside of the Magnet Storm, and so doesn't get the kill onto Paragon. This Kai'Sa, we talked a lot about the Yone and the Sejuani being the core playmakers of this Uncle's comp in game number 1, but so far it has been all AD carry action from this Kai'Sa. And I feel like that's what we're setting up for now if we're Uncles. Not really the mid lane, but the ADC, this Kai'Sa pick that has just been popping off.
Timer-wise, Mystique. You waited a little bit too long. You don't really have the ult. Vital, though, is going to come in with a huge hammer. Maybe you can get some damage down. However, the kite is so good from Uncle's body block coming out from GFP. As that is a hold in half. Now comes the Seedling, though. What a great punch back. U13 taking a little bit too much time, but that's still the double kill at the end of the day. Big pickups for Vital and U13. However, like a Mouse, able to get at least a plate on the bot side in return.
U13 reaping the efforts of his top laner's attempt at just trying to be the hero. 2 kills over to Lilia, but still that doesn't change the fact that the priority target, the Kai'Sa, getting away, goes back. The Yuntal Wild Arrows acquired, as well as that pickaxe, also over halfway done with that cold gold, so that will be a major breakpoint for Paragon in the future. Now it feels like Uncles want a breakpoint now. I mean, Dragon is up. This would be a big objective for the Uncles, not only to claim, but to deny away from Weaver State. It's gone untouched so far, 12.5 minutes in, so I really want to see some focus on this bot side objective, Orbital.
I mean, considering that for Uncles, they also haven't really gotten most, well, I mean, their game plan for some of the feats as well is to get first tower as well as these global objectives. The fact that they're here first means WSU a little bit further behind. I know you talked about it. We're hoping that they were going to rotate, but no, it's going to be handed over. It will be the Ocean in their hands. Next up, though, a little bit extra question. It is going to be Hextech to play for as Mystiques going to be enjoying a little jaunty stroll, looking to try and clear out some wards of their own. What a cast, though, as Vital looking in a little bit worse position, took a tower shot, but Paradise seeing that Seedling knows that this is going to be troublesome. Are you going to get out for safety? It looks like Debonair is on the way. Same with Paragon. Vital sticks around a little bit too long. That could be dangerous. A little bit of a hop in. Timer ticking down here as this is going to be 2 coming around the side. Paragon punches quickly into U13's face. Debonair trying to heal out and get near and close, but unfortunately they are out and away this is gonna be a WSU saying we're ready to fight. Flash in, Goku able to land it. Paragon has no out, and that's the slam for a shutdown, but Tao takes their second of the game.
Weber State capitalizing off the overchase from Uncles in that top side. It's a kill over to Batao. They're going to try to really hammer home this advantage. Paragon is temporarily down. The big carry for Uncles sent back to the fountain. They want to get damage on this turret, try to take it, but the wave clear from Gragas. I mean, they were looking for a dive on him earlier, but even though Paradise City isn't having the most flashy of games, most comfortable of games on this Gragas, the fact is, this is a very difficult champion to actually get your hands on. It's extremely slippery, has a lot of wave clear, and could deny the dive. So Weber State trying to take a good situation and make it better, that is going to end up not happening.
You know what the bad situation is, though, is like how Miles currently trying to snipe their way out, has to expend an ult for an ult. But U13 getting a lot of value here in just pressure. You take a look at where they're at as Like Miles walks straight into Mystique and U13. We haven't really talked about it. U13 currently 4-1-2. Not only has the kill lead, but currently has a 30 CS lead. A massive camp finish, 10 camps ahead. GFB, long time until you're going to have a 1200 smite.
Still, though, both junglers are level 9, and honestly, Sejuani not too concerned. I would say as Batao might want to be concerned.
Yeah, I mean, you were sacrificing your life for this tower. You were trying to get those feats, so, you know, you'll take it. Honestly, that chase and the fact that there had to be 3 brought down, you're pretty okay with that one. So feats do go, first tower as well. It feels like Weber State University doing okay here in the early game still.
Yeah, because, I mean, look at the rest of the map. It's Weber State just overloading it as U13.
All right, that was a respectable revenge play, or a respectable payment given. U13 tried to look underneath the tower, got a little bit extra damage, and then just like, oh yeah, there's a Gragas on the other side. Quick tower taken on the top side. Bot side tower will go the way of Lycamos. So at least it's a little bit of space given one way or another. But still, at the end of the day, WSU looking very comfortable. However, dive underneath it is going to be over and under into the wall. Paragon getting their 5th with a lot of help from the team.
Really good ultimate over the wall there by GFP, setting up for the follow-up by Debonair.
Oh, and that's going to be a punch out, though, as Mystique now is pinned into the wall, and you're going up against the Fed Kaisa. Paragon right back on that killing spree. Action Goku trying to snipe out Debonair, but it ain't going to work, and that's the play. That's the action. Uncles got their ADC up and rolling.
Uncles are absolutely spoon-feeding resources over to Paragon in this mid-game. This Kaisa getting bigger and bigger with every passing minute. Not going to be able to go for the reset just yet. Likely just going to try and clear out this wave before committing. You can see that Dragon is up in a minute, and you want to get every last bit of gold you can before that inevitable neutral objective fight. So it's a good look from Paragon to try and stay, but it's not without its interferences. You can see Batao and a lot of members from Weber State also having the same idea and trying to wrestle control of that mid lane.
I think for right now, WSU can be very content with the fact that with their pacing, with the speed that they're currently playing, the top side of the map is their win con. They are looking strong. They're U13 grabbing that Herald right now, keeping pace level 10 and looking better and better. Now moving a lot of that gold into the mid, trying to chase like a mouse out. And you can see with this tower break, it would put it at a 3 tower to 1 stance if you're able to pick it up. No wave to play with though, as Dragon is going to be up in about 20 seconds, and that's where all eyes are drawn.
That's where the battle lines are going to be drawn. You can see Paradise City is on that top lane, teleport almost off of cooldown, but besides that, everybody else gravitating toward this mid lane, just trying to get priority and move on down. But the big difference maker, the big wild card that WSU have up their sleeve is that Herald. They're going to drive it into the lane.
I'm not sure about this one. They're going to dive, hit the tower, it does break, but now you're pinned, and now U13 has to flash away to safety instantly. Lilting Lullaby, but that's going to be the cast landing with Zeke, and another bad spot. Fate Seal connects with the Glacial Prison, and it is decimation for WSU as the University will fall. It's a double as Paragon reaches that pinnacle. 3-0 for Unks.
And we don't know what the comms looked like for Uncles during that fight, but I sure as hell hope Paragon Paradise City delivered the fattest, most guttural bomba of his life. A beautiful task with a beautiful fate seals the fate of WSU in that fight, and a second dragon over to the uncles. A huge fight win, and from the most unlikely sources, this Gragas has been put behind so much in this game. Paradise City has been battered and bruised in the laning phase, but he makes the difference, Orbital.
And I mean, you capitalized on a mistake. You knew you was gonna pop out of that Herald in a really awkward spot. It's why I was kind of questioning this Herald drive. I know you want the tower, but why send one of your most fed members basically into the arms of a waiting Poppy, of a waiting cast, of everything that can knock you back? It was just a very questionable choice, but it was a right call by Unks to say, we are going to prey on that fact. So well done. And now WSU have to be very aware of this position as well. You have to sit there and go, okay, hey, they are going to do that to us. If we make a mistake again, they will pin at least one of us. Mystique, by the way, 0-4 and 5 right now, has been continuously singled out in a lot of these battles, who is their WSU's main front line as well. So as we get into this next phase of play with Runas Otacon spawning, we're gonna have to wait and see exactly where the next fight pinches out. As oh man, I talked for a little bit too long. Good ult out, as Like a Moss is gonna buy a lot of time for the rest of his team to go ahead and pick up mid tower.
And look, they want to chase him, but that mid lane tower taken down, like you said. Uncles can reinforce their mid laner and potentially turn the fight. They have numbers advantage.
And Debonair is going to jump on in, but Mystique this time actually gets a punch, but you're too weak. Yet again, you are soloed out and denied. There is no mystery here. This is just brutality coming out from the Unks.
Absolutely. They get a kill. They get out. You can see Paradise City as well in the bot lane, putting pressure on that turret. Weber State University are being corralled around the map, but they are just too slow to react to these plays. But Debonair...
All right, the supports are kind of going at it one way or another. Down goes Debonair. Rest of the team hauling butt out, as I believe that was Paradise to go ahead and shove that wave underneath the tower. That bot side tower, by the way, on the side of WSU, about to fall with maybe another wave push.
Yeah, absolutely. Ooh. You know, the supports, Orbital, they're matching each other's freak. We've seen some questionable plays from Mystiques. We've seen some questionable plays from Debonair. It's an internal contest at the end of the day. It's an inside joke for them. Yesterday, I got the privilege of casting Winthrop, and their support, only 35, died 13 times. As I don't think anyone's dying here in this fight, though.
Well, you say that, maybe. The Paradise is starting to look like a very dangerous spot to be. The Paradise was a lie. However, dive in by Paragon. That's going to try and zone up a Tao, but Tao taking very, very low. But that's a TP coming in from Goku-chan. Goku-chan going to try and fire away underneath the tower, but it's GFB that is holding steady as Mystique yet again to dive a little bit too far. This time trying to help the rest of the team, but it's another seedling to tap back at GFB. And they are going to try and stay alive for the time. So nice little push will lead to WSU getting some tower damage.
They overload the side and they get a couple of kills for it. But you can see on the other side of the map, Lycama is going to be trading a kill. Sendy trying as well to get that mid lane turret, maybe get that slight little edge in tower taking for that trade, but it's not going to amount to anything. It's Lycama is, wow, Batao dealing a lot of damage. You would expect the Yone to be the one as the aggressor in this 1v1, but this Jace is just putting on the absolute hands toward this Yone. He's making him look like that kid from season 1 of Arcane. Poor guy.
Okay, let's be honest. Batao jumping from a brush to like a mouse, like even I wouldn't be able to do anything about that. Like, you can't do much, especially when Batao currently has 2.5 items, technically, considering he had the upgraded boots. I give a lot of credit. Batao is playing this Jace appropriately. 190 CS. You are leading kind of in that scoreline, at least between the two top laners. So you're using your gold effectively. At the current moment, though, Dragon is about to be up in about 40 seconds, and it's Infernal Soul to play for, I believe, which is a wild soul to have in a game with so many damage numbers as well.
For sure. Both of these teams, I like what you mentioned, the upfront damage in particular, the profiles by both of these teams is extremely high. Uncles, though, I think having a bit of a superior setup. You can see Weber State trying to overload this mid lane, but Uncles are more than prepared to counteract this and react if possible. Teleport, though, coming out from Lycamaz.
Very nice jump away, and the Hammer Justice doesn't do anything either, but Mystique again caught out, and that is a great jump in from Debonair. Another section off! That is Paradise to send the Cascade and deny double, handed to Paragon on a silver platter.
And they don't even need to commit all the members toward the Dragon. You can see Paradise City is going to try and pick off Batao. He's extremely low. He's going to try and get this turret before he falls.
And that's all they're going to get.
He's going to try and execute.
Can you do it? I think you should be fine. Yeah, you're going to be able to execute here. You're okay, but still, consolation at the end of the day. Unks are starting to come together in a massive way here in the mid game.
For sure. I mean, Paragon... 11, 2, and 4. He has been just picking up kill after kill, but I feel like the real big story is, hold on, Paragon has to be very careful.
Oh, and Paragon was not. You were out a little bit further than you were like. You thought GFE was going to be there in time. Like a mouse, though, going to try and help out. As Sendy actually has to run, so they are going to pinch into you again, and Debonair is here, ready to pinch into the wall, but you don't have to, as Like a Mouse gets the execution value down. There will be a sight of one. U13 running for their life, though, as Dragon is already gone, so it's just kills for kill's sake, but an overall 2-for-1 in favor of Unks.
U13. It's so nice to play Lilia when you're this sped up, when you're this fed, you just dance on the enemy team. So he's gonna put on some fancy footwork after claiming a kill in the mid lane. Yeah, I mean, Paragon just stepping up a little too far, gets hit by the stray bowling ball from Lilia. So it's 1-for-1, but certainly more worth it, I would say, for Weber State at the end of the day. They shut down and get the gold from that critical kill onto Kaisa. But still, I mean, the fact remains, Weber State, sure, they get the upgrade in that trade. Sure, they get the better of Uncles, but Uncles sitting at soul point 25.5 minutes in. That Otacon as well, looking mighty juicy for them. If Weber State were to give up a kill, if you know, Mystiques were to get caught, or any of the members of Weber State, for that matter, were to get caught, it would be immediate pivots onto that topside objective, and Weber State really want to make sure that that doesn't happen, because it still feels like this game can be wrestled back from them.
Oh yeah, I mean the game still feels very up in the air. You take a look at the gold itself, it's still relatively close, about 400 or 500. Main difference, of course, is going to be those dragons. The fact that we're currently on soul point for the side of Unks, that's probably what their win condition is looking for. I love the fact that you called out that, hey, you just play for Otacon, because the same can be said on the bottom side. You look at about 3 minutes and you can start playing for that global objective. You start forcing U13 into weird spots, but at the current moment, because Otacon and Baron are in the vicinity, deep ward's going to be placed here. Paradise as well, still trying to run interference, has 2.5 items. Rod of Ages completely stacked. Means that you're going to be on the bot side with the TP up and available for any sort of shenanigans that might be going down.
And I feel like something that Weber State, you know, a bit of a dent in their draft, or a bit of a crack in the armor of this draft, is that they don't really have a centralized tank. I mean, you look across the board, and sure, you've got some frontlining from Mystiques, from Batao if he joins up, but that just means that Uncles don't really have to invest a lot into Pen, into any sort of, you know, making sure that this front line gets knocked down a peg, because they can just completely invest into that upfront damage, into those damage items, because it's all basically squishies on the side of Weber State. If they get their hands on them, they will just immediately get bursted down. It means that Weber can't really be looking to be the ones getting it engaged on. They have to be the ones engaging, and a lot of that, I feel, falls on this Rel. That really is only their only big engage tool for them at the moment.
The other hope would be, hey, can we just get the full poke out? And that's what Batao is going to try and do. Paradise using that cast to try and stay safe this time around. But it is going to be that chance, like you called. Mystiques, of course, trying to be that engage tool. But if you can't engage, you throw down the poke. You have Batao, you have Goku, yes, Sendy, all with decent long range. And you're going to try and hit like a mouse, like GFB, like Paradise, who gets caught. And Batao might have found the pick and a half that you want. However, you go ahead and step away. You go into hammer form, chase into the brush, but Paradise has a lot of speed. Flash show, that's a hammer to the back of the head. Batao finally finishes him off, but Sendy stepping up a little bit too far. Paragon almost with the kill, but Sendy lives thanks to the barrier flash. And now it's GFB's turn. You still can't kite the Baron as Sendy stays alive. His little airship still safe.
And Paragon's trying to be the hero in the mid lane, but he doesn't have enough pieces to help him accomplish the 80 carry dream. But like differently.
Oh my god, like a mouse might have just played a freaking game saver. Able to save the Baron right there, allowing a push with the rest of the towers, and now Like a Mouse is able to chase in a 1v3. Snapback denies that split, and Debonair is here to play as well. This is Unk's gonna turn it around in a 2v3. Like a Mouse playing just outside of vision, tries to get a sneak peek, but doesn't land it. Another sweep, gets a good shield, and you snap back once again to your teammate. That soul extension is being so annoying. The fact that WSU can't contest.
And not only does it deny the Baron away from Weaver State, they're probably going to lose the Dragon here. Goku does have the teleport, but Sendy does not. That is going to be time committed by the Corki to walk to this bot side objective. And all the while, Uncles are setting up vision. They take the crab, so they have eyes on this side of the map. Weaver, they're not even going to contest. They're going to try and overload the top side. You can see the teleport from Goku is there to maybe look to threaten that Otacon. But Lycamaz saving the game off of that hero play on the Baron. He denies the Nasher and secures his team the soul.
Yeah, and keep in mind that play towards the Baron just now from WSU was specifically to try and snap him before Dragon. They didn't really respect how quickly that Dragon was going to go down, by the way. So now you're actually stuck in a really weird position where you're offside. You're not behind your tower, which means this tower is going to fall in the blink of an eye, and the rest of Unks can do whatever they so wish. The poke from Batao ain't going to land. GFB as well as Paradise are so dang tanky. Even Debonair is starting to get up there. Item and a half. Having those boots is the Swifty boots. You're gonna be so uncomfortable. Unks now with the Elder, or not the Elder, the Dragon Soul. You can do pretty much anything you want as long as you're in position to fight some of these matches. You're gonna be comfortable doing just about anything on the map, no problem. However, Debonair realizing that okay, maybe that doesn't apply to me on my own. So, quick snap of the support, and it's gonna be WSU to try and start up this Baron.
They're going to go for round 2. Lycamaz teleporting in the mid lane, so Uncles might have an opportunity at a flank, but you can see they're actually committing Batao to sectioning off this Yone, which means it's going to be harder and take longer to go for this neutral. Mistakes is just left out to dry.
And Unks are gonna chase right now. There's a huge catch. Paragon dies right in. The Killer Instinct bringing death around. Yes, you will lose your life, but you took 2 in that wake. U13 is gonna be U0 as that's another death on their board. But Tao can't do anything. It's foregone, and Uncles waking up heavily. Now looking at the Baron.
You know, I wouldn't be calling them the uncles at this point. I'd be calling them the fathers because WSU are getting fathered by them right now. Uncles, though, going absolutely crazy in this late game. Paragon dashing forward, using that killer instinct. He pays for it with his life, but I love the confidence from the 80 carry of the Unks' squad. Lycamaz as well with that clutch flank teleport, committing so many bodies to just keep him away from the Nasher that it opens up an opportunity for the rest of the team. Now, it's not just Baron, but it's Otacon as well. And it's Uncles steaming ahead, full speed ahead with this game. And you wouldn't be thinking that from the gold difference here, Orbital. It's only around 2,000, but man, the carries on this Uncles team are just destroying WSU.
Like a mouse, 6-1-3, Paragon, 13-5-5. And I know you were talking about Goku in the mid lane. Goku has been rendered silent. 2-4-7 has not been allowed to play the game. And that's how you do it. The Uncles looking strong right now. Paragon pretty much full build, just needs one more in the bank with that BS sword in tow. And now we gotta wait and see. They are looking at this bottom side, which hasn't really been tested. They're still looking for the first inhib crack, by the way, at about 33 minutes here. So it's taking a little bit longer than they would have liked. However, they might find it here. Goku and Mystique's currently on top of a ward, but they might not be happy. That's gonna be Goku pin, and it's gonna be such an easy catch once again. That is the painter left out to dry. Mystique's will go down just as well. The Acathian rain to bring the pain, and just like that, Unks have been allowed to crash the base. Quick TP back in, but Tao is going to try and hold it off. Down go the inhibitor tower. Down goes 2 inhibitors, and it looks like this could be GG. No time, no more waiting. Uncles have woken up. They are the fathers
Paradise.
of this game. Vital is going to try and lead him on a merry chase, but I don't know if that's going to work. Down goes one Nexus tower. Quick snap on the HP like a mouse, ready to dive into the base. This time, the Corki will fall, and it's GG's all around, as it's going to be Uncles to take game one.
Uncle's saying it doesn't matter if it was an FF the first time. We are looking to run it back in 2-0 Weber State for the second time in 3 weeks, and they are starting off strong. Orbital, it was looking extremely back and forth in that early game, but the big difference maker was definitely on Lycamaz, right? We talked about Sendy being the main carry from start to finish, but that Yone in the side lane all the time wasn't really there for a lot of the early to mid-game skirmishes, but once it got those items, it made the most of all of that gold and absolutely tore Weber State University asunder. Beautifully played late game, beautifully played team fights from Uncles, and a very exciting game one to kick off this best of 3.
Yeah, I mean, Paragon being able to reach into that 15-5-5. I have not seen a much more perfect scoreline than that, tripling up on the number of deaths in that style. Fantastic to see. And take a look at the side of WSU. It feels like they were having a good swing in the early game, but all momentum was stopped. And I am going to be sitting there kind of wondering exactly what they need to do. Now, granted, you don't have to worry about the same champions, but going into game 2, you got to be a little bit worried. We'll see what they can throw down. We are going to go to a very short break. And when we come back, we are going to have game number 2 for your viewing pleasure. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We're still here. We're Game number one with a little bit of spice. Early game was WSU's, but late game really went Unk's way. And honestly, it was like a mouse. But at the end of the day, it was also Paragon that was
Yeah.
standing at the very top. 15 kills for them, but everyone on the side of Unks had a big hand in this game.
And I mean, we said that the biggest objective going into this series for Uncles was establishment of identity, right? Making us understand where these guys like to play, who they like to play for, and what their strengths are as a team. And I think we got a lot of that in the first game. Like you said, it was Lycamaz, it was Paragon, it was the team fighting. That late game was really what shined through, in my opinion. I think, though, that if Uncles want to get that 2-0, looking forward into that second game, it's got to be in that early to mid game. If they can clean up those sections just a little bit more and deny some of those 50-50 plays, some of those advantages from Weber State, I think we have a really solid team in the making. And Weber State, backs against the wall in this best of three. They have to make sure that they can wrestle control of this series. I feel like, really in particular, U13 was looking great on that Lilia, but just wasn't able to deliver. The rest of the team not able to support it in the ways that really mattered.
Yeah, and again, just a little bit of struggle towards the mid game, getting caught out here and there. Mystique's at the same, but of course we have to wait for the draft to see if we'll see those same complications come through here. So let's go ahead and go on in. You go ahead and take a look. All the picks that were there last time going to be denied away this time, but of course WSU is still sticking on that blue side. You can already see same bands pretty much coming out here, at least to start. The Victor still denied, which makes sense.
Absolutely. They're still going to be targeting Lycamaz in this game. And I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we see Weber State double down on just taking away some of more mid lane picks here in game number 2 with how effective Lycamaz was in that mid lane around that lane phase on that Yone. So maybe they just take away some of those more front-loaded, aggressive picks from him, just deny some comfort away from the mid laner of Uncles. But then, tangentially, you could also focus down that bot lane. I know we have been harping, at least I have been harping a lot on Lycamaz, but it would be foolhardy to not admit Paragon's hand in that win. He had a little bit more than a hand in that win, but still, the priority for Weber State definitely has to be on limiting those two conjunction factors for this second one.
Yeah, and we are also going to see a little bit of that Gwen yet again. These are the exact same bands as before. You go ahead and see that little kind of toss out here. But to me, the big question, of course, is going to come down to one of two things. What do you ban out here? Last time, it was the Varus, I think, for the side of Uncles. On the blue side, though, it was the Mbessa. And you had to sit there and go, was the Mbessa truly the right choice? They do actually shift it up, and they ban out the Talia, sending it straight into Lycamaz, who, again, had some impact. But to ban out an AP like that one, I'm not sure it's really first ban phase worthy.
I'm actually really surprised by that Talia ban, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, I think that this is one of Goku's better champions. I do think that the Talia is one of his better picks, and so I'm actually surprised they're not willing to first pick it, or at the very least, they are afraid enough of Lycamaz on this champion that they're willing to ban it away. But the Mbessa, the champion that escapes the ban hammer, compared to the last game where, like you said, it was taken away by Weber State. So maybe they have a plan to get Batau on that pick.
Yeah, well, right now they actually give it up a little bit more, grabbing the Tristana instead, making sure that there's a little bit of escapology as well as engagement if you wish. But the answer is a Skarner. Right now, that Mbessa seems to not be on the highest point of priority, so I like the stack up once again. GFP locking in here, that Skarner being able to have that value, that extra CC, as again, you don't have the Sejuani, you get the next best thing when it comes to team fights. And then the Azir that was banned out in game number 1 being hovered here, that will go to the hands of Lycamaz.
I mean, when we were in the draft of game number 1, Orbital, we said that Uncle's biggest priority was going to be mid-jungle, and they snag away the mid-jungle in game number 2. So that leads me to believe that they really want to get these two picks ahead as soon as possible. Weber State, though, pulling out some dark technology. They're going to give U13 the ball yet again. It's not the Lilia. It is the Bel'Veth. And honestly, I actually like this pick into the Skarner. It's very easy to dodge that Ishtal's impact with all the dashes that Bel'Veth has and just withstand any sort of damage that Skarner might put on you. Bel'Veth, I think, will be really useful as long as it is allowed to maneuver around these fights and, most importantly, get those resets once it hits level 6. Paired up with the Orianna as well, definitely leading me to believe that Weber State definitely going to be the ones going in this second game. They will try to be the aggressors and engage before Uncles can react.
Yeah, but I'm honestly, I will say the Orianna feels more like a response to the Azir than anything else. When I look at the side of WSU, it's just they play as they wish, right? You look at the Bel'Veth, you look at the Tristana, these are all great getaways. It doesn't really scream, I'm going to go in as much. It almost feels like a deterrent, if you will, because you look on the other side for Unks, they're the ones drafting all this engage. They grab the Skarna, they grab the Emperor's shuffle in there. You got the Rakan as well, which is a great dive in, dive out. I'm actually really worried about these shockwaves. Is it going to land? We now see those supports and ADCs both being banned out. Once again, the Leona taken off the table. I think last time it was also the Nautilus. But the Xayah, you don't want to give the lovers do it over. Great respect there from Weaver.
And you were saying, Orbital, that the engage so far from this Uncle's comp is grand, but I would also say inversely, the disengage is just as good. You can use that Emperor's Divide to get away from a fight, to dissuade the Bel'Veth and Tristana from pushing in. Skarner as well can get champions away from their backline. Rakan can provide peel for the backline. So Uncles, I think, have drafted themselves a comp where they have the ability to pick and choose which fights they do and don't want to go for, whereas Weber State are a little bit more my way or the highway. It's a little bit more black and white with this comp. I don't think they have that disengaged potential, which means that they're going to have to go hard in the paint with these last two picks and just say, all right, let's full send it.
Yeah, I'm honestly not thrilled about that. I'm not gonna lie. I don't ever enjoy a comp that is almost forced into that position of we have to go in, because it makes it very obvious. And yet again, we are seeing this draft. I actually really like this from Unks. As soon as you see the Orianna, as soon as you see the safety value or the engage value from the Shockwave, you start drafting again that mobility, the Ezreal being able to stay out of range of the Bel'Veth, of the Orianna. Maybe not the Tristana, but if you jump after, if you arcane shift after the Tristana, you're good. Looking at WSU, though, they do have to decide, and there's their launcher. It's a Scion, it's blind, but it is a Scion, so at least you got tank.
Yeah. I mean, we said more engage, Scion is engage, and also cross-map presence. So I think, depending on how Batau decides to use that ultimate, this could really be, I think, sort of the ace in the hole, so to speak, for Weber State. Or maybe that's not necessarily the ace in the hole. It might be the Zilean instead, Orbital, in that support role. What is Mystique's cooking?
Mystique's is cooking a never-dying Scion, is all I'm seeing here. This is just like, you know what, screw getting the carries. Yeah, we'll just keep the Scion. No. The Zilean, though, I kind of like this idea. You keep Bel'Veth alive, allows the Bel'Veth to go in a little bit further, and you can fight it out. I like this call. You can dive and allow the Bel'Veth to try and fight it out a little bit more, and especially with a little bit more longevity is there. But the Cho'Gath to answer the Scion in the top side is a little bit crazy to me. We've now gone from exceptional powerhouses in the bruiser aspect with the Gragas and that Jace to heavy tank pressers. All of a sudden, the eyes on Batau and Paradise are gone. Like, we know what they're going to be doing for like 25 minutes of this game.
And I actually like this Cho'Gath pick in a vacuum. I think its laning against Scion is going to be very successful. My biggest worry for it, though, is in the Zilean just denying all of those feast stacks, right? You can easily chrono shift and deny away Debonair's ability to get, or not Debonair, but you can just deny Cho'Gath's ability to get larger as the game goes on with that Zilean ult. And so that could be a thorn in the side of Uncles. But, you know, if we take away that interaction, I heavily prefer Uncles' comp, honestly. I feel like the only thing that I'm worried on is the damage profile, particularly in this early game. don't have a lot of damage dealers on Uncles. So I think that their onus is going to be on restraining themselves from fighting early. We saw a lot of action in game number 1. I am expecting to see less of that in game number 2. And Uncles, like we said, they can pick and choose their battles. They've got engage, but they've also got disengage. They can easily dissuade Weber State from getting onto that back line. And so they need to really make use of that early on. But once that late game comes around, I think Third Dragon is really where we're going to start to see this comp round out and that damage start to come through.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm also looking at that mid lane. I know Goku didn't have the most impactful game in game number 1, but the Orianna here, I think, is going to have to pull a lot of weight. You got to make sure those shockwaves land, and they have to be on point. This is like the biggest macro calls of I need to know where I need to place my ball in case the fight breaks out. So let's go ahead and dive straight into game number 2 here. Right now, it is going to be do or die time for the side of WSU. Weber State need this victory to go ahead and try and give us a game 3. If not, we are going to see Uncles proceed into the Swiss bracket at a 2-1 state, just 2 wins away from the 4 needed for the playoffs.
Yep, the winner of this series here, halfway there, 2-4. But on the other hand, the loser of this series, halfway there to potentially getting knocked out. So there is a decent amount riding on this series, not just in the wake of, you know, being able to get the series win, but I feel mentally being at that halfway point on either side could have adverse effects or could have some extravagant effects. But looking at this draft, notably, Orbital, there is a switch up that we were not anticipating. Paradise City actually going to be rocking the Azir top lane. It's the battle of the jobs. It's the Lumberjack versus the Lawyer.
I'm not sure about that one, and I am terrified, quite honestly. This is, I mean, is this the right call? I mean, you know, Paradise is going to enjoy this, I think, and as you called, the Lawyer is going to be rules lawyering this just a little bit, but this also puts a very comfortable position for Goku to actually farm up, and I'm not sure if you want to give Goku a large chance at farming up, making sure to reach those item breakpoints a lot earlier, but It'll be a test to see. Both tanks gonna have some struggles, and both AP carriers are gonna be real happy about this one. As right now, Batal trying to get a little bit messy with it, stepping up early for the queue.
For sure, and you know we're definitely eyeing the Azir top, but it is worth talking about the Cho'Gath mid. This was extremely meta, you know, 3 to 4 weeks ago, when those symbiotic souls plus all the movement speed items just allowed this champion to run over the lane for a couple of patches. But it has been nerfed a decent amount. It has been significantly less popular in the past couple of patches, but I think Lycama is going to try and revive some faith in this pick. And like you said, it is definitely an opportunity for Goku to get a little bit more free farm on this Orianna, but feel like Lycamaz definitely has an ace up his sleeve, and so do Weber.
Early call. Early call, but it's doing wonders here. Quick slam on the ground as Paragon gets exhausted, and the bear comes out as Yu is almost going down, dodging the mystic shot at the very end. But that's time in. Debonair secures first blood. The dive going to Lobayez. Now Sendy is caught. You have Flash, but I don't think you're going to be happy. As that's the last auto. You tried to save Flash, but it's not working. Disaster striking for WSU. This is 3 for the early game.
And Weber State, their plan goes awry. U13 trying to go with the cheese pathing immediately. Oh, hang on, Patau! Solo kill onto Paradise.
I mean, but here's the deal. A kill for Matao is not the same as 2 kills for Paragon. Those things are not an equivalent exchange. Paragon is on track to become a nasty monster once again, and this is just destructive again. I like the idea as we called, but huge outplay from Paragon and Debonair to turn that around on its head.
Absolutely amazing play there from Paragon and Debonair, and this is going to prove to potentially have some disastrous consequences for Sendy and Mystiques going forward. You look across the lanes and you would expect this matchup to be dominated by Tristana Zillion early on, This is when Ezreal is at his weakest, and now him starting out with 2 kills and Sendy being taken down in this laning phase. They're already having to swap 4 minutes in here, Orbital. It's a similar strategy to what we saw in game number 1, but it feels somehow a little bit more desperate this time around because of that bot lane play. They just don't want to deal with Paragon and Debonair.
Yeah, here's the problem though. Paragon and Debonair are already going to be shoving in that tower. So either way, I think Paragon is going to be really happy about this one. Here's the differences. Paradise might be in a rough spot. We are going to see U13 as well. One of the big things that we talked about is U13 got a massive lead in the jungle early on. We have to talk about that. This time around, GFP might be able to stay in a relatively comfortable position, not going to be down 10 camps because you have 2 assists early, because you're probably able to match in that level scaling as well. So that's another eye that I want to keep a track of is GFP. Are you going to be able to match in the Smite Wars? Or are you going to be giving up those some of those early grubs or anything of the like? That is a very ballsy TP, by the way. Like a Moss, literally in center stage of mid lane.
Yeah, for sure. And you were talking about the struggles of Paradise City in the top lane, you know, going and laning 1v2, but I would honestly be a little bit more worried about Batal because, you know, giving Paragon over all of these free resources and not really being able to poke out this Ezreal, punish him for walking up. We talked about how important it was that Paragon be the one to get all these resources. And so far he is.
Oh no. We're now seeing another fight on the top side as that's going to be sending jumping right on top, but that's a huge knockup again. Debonair getting multiple. That's going to be kill number 1, but they do chunk out the jungler, and that's going to be GFP to go down. Paragon now stuck in a really rough spot, so it looks like this squad of WSU has found it as a Goomba stomp twice. Sendy sends into the grave, picks up 1 for their own as U13 picked up 2 in the mid lane. Goku also gets a vibrant kill onto Lycamos even without the ult.
WSU coming out with a recovery a couple minutes after disaster struck in that bot lane, and U13 critically the one to pick up a couple of kills. Just like game number 1 on the Lilia, he is going to be in a position where the ball is in his hands. It's going to get interrupted a bit here by GFP, but he got 2 grubs, which means that Uncles are going to be relegated to only getting 1. It's a little bit unfortunate, though, for U13. Only level 5, so not going to be able to get that 3-minute true form on the Bel'Veth. Lycamos actually going to steal away the last grub to get a stack on that feast. And this is another thing that we haven't really talked about from the Uncles comp, is going to be stealing those neutral objectives. The Cho'Gath makes it very difficult for you to win out on a lot of those smite fights, and so it's going to be, the onus is going to be on Uncles to set up extra early around those neutrals to deny any entrances by Lycamos.
And it will be a little bit difficult watching that one. I'm going to be very curious. Keep in mind as well, Uncles were able to grab all 4 dragons, I believe, in game number 1. Yeah. They were very comfortable in that status as well. So, as you call it, the fact that they had double now means it's a lot more pressure on U13, on the rest of the team, to deny. One of those steps is to make sure that Paradise City isn't going to have a comfortable laning phase, isn't going to have that Azir to play with. Right now, fully getting zoned out here on the bottom side as Sendy has really been able to climb back into this laning phase. Yes, you're still down about a wave or so, but you know, it's okay there. You're able to farm up now. You're avoiding the lights of Paragon, as you're going to see this kind of lane swap yet again in terms of this early dragon. It is a mountain dragon to play for.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, mountain, not super consequential for any one of these particular champions. I would say the one that benefits the most from it definitely are, you know, GFP and Batal being the tanks of both of these teams. It's just a nice dragon to have overall, but I would say it's not exactly like comp specific, right? You look at Mountain Dragon and you're not like, oh, it's really good with this certain comp, it's really good with that certain comp. It's just a sort of jack of all trades one. Everyone likes to have a Mountain Dragon. It's a similar boat, I would say, to something like a Hex Tech, where you're not really going to complain if you have it, because it's just nice to have.
The lane swap pull here, as we're going to see Batal joining in on this top side, or on this bot side, just trying to clear the wave using that TP. But again, with that managed wave side, Paragon allowing Debonair to join into that dragon, So it is going to be picked up by the side of Uncles. They're going to start that dragon stacking and hopefully get a little bit more Paradise for their own, though. Now getting stuck into this 2v1 once again. And I'll be honest, Paradise still kind of struggling in that fashion. Goku, though, pressing up very, very quickly. Was hoping to get a wave underneath the tower and get a little extra gold, but it's not going to happen. Now there's a dive here in the bot side as Debonair actually misses that side into the wall. Paradise going to fight on the top side as well as it's a 1-2 on either end. But Mystiques is going to live. So does everyone else as U13 claims that kill on the bot side.
Whoa!
Wait, what? You took another tower shot. So it's actually a 1-for-1. Bot side tower dive going just as badly as both teams squander the 3v1s.
Are they going to go for a re-engage? It doesn't look like they are. Disaster striking for both teams, but honestly, Weber State, despite U13 going down, he still gets the kill. It's still a 1-for-1, which is better than nothing on the other side. Uncles coming up empty-handed in that bot lane dive.
Yeah, this has been a play and a half, as this is a little bit of a test. We get a little bit of a jostle. Even the game was like, guys, did you guys not mean to do that? Okay, well, you did. At the end of the day, as you called, though, it was WSU to go ahead and collect a little extra plates. You were able to get a little more gold. U13 now 3-2-1. And remember, this is a little bit different than Aulilia. In my opinion, you're not scaling and you're not going to be worried about engagements. Now, as this Velvet, you're going to be so happy getting that Kraken Slayer, getting that extra damage down, and you're just going to be flying through some of those HP bars if you're allowed to scale a little bit further. Now we are seeing Paragon and Debonair meet up in this mid lane, looking to try and force down Goku-chan, who, in their own right, 100 CS, first to reach it in this game. Uh-oh.
A lot of eyes being paid toward that top side. This is a very consequential grub. U13, if he gets his hands on any one of these, will be able to unlock that 3-minute true form, which will allow him to get this snowball even further down the hill, cause it to grow, potentially out of control, and, you know, Uncles really want to control that. Is Goku?
Okay, well, that's a shockwave landing on one, and GFP, honestly, I wonder what would have happened if you turned on that Impale, but Debonair is actually going to chase him. Gets a double knock-up and exhausts Goku. Great shields come out, though, with that E, so you are able to protect yourself. However, a little dive heavy on both ends. Meanwhile, Leica Moss was able to force Sendy out of the play as well, so plays being made on all ends as the grubs are now looked at by the side of Unks.
And Goku, having to reset, doesn't have teleport, so there really is no recourse here for Weber State. They're going to have to force with a numbers disadvantage for the time being. They so desperately want Belveth to get that 3-minute smite. U13 to be able to press that pressure even forward, if, you know, even further forward if he got that. But this last grub has taken an awful long time to take. Never mind, they got it. It's all three over to Uncles, but can they get out?
I don't know if they can, and they are going to try and turn it around. Debonair able to section off one there, and they're able to impale. And that's U13, I think, going to go down here. Great little power trough there. And it was the rest of WSU that didn't want to commit to the play, so well done. Yes, they denied 5 grubs, but 4 still go the way of Unks.
Unks managing out to win in that exchange. They get all 3 grubs, like you said. They take down U13, split on the call. Felt like Belveth just really wanted to go for that objective, with the rest of Weber State kind of understanding that it's hard to go and engage into a Skarner, and one of their members pays the price for it. But now I'm actually interested to see what is made of these grubs, because we're not expecting Uncles to be very relevant on the side lanes. Obviously, we've been seeing Paradise City operate by himself in the bot lane for some time now, but we're not expecting him to be a threat, split pushing and drawing a lot of members from Weber State to answer later on in the game especially. So I feel like these grubs likely going to act as a tool for if Uncles ever win a fight, they can just press that to maybe get a turret and turn a good situation better. But first they have to win the actual fight, and still, like we said, in the draft orbital, this team really lacks the damage until later in the game. So those big fight wins that we want them to make use of with those grubs, not going to happen, I would say, right away.
Nah, it takes a little bit of time. You just gotta focus on the things that matter, like on this dragon that's gonna come up in about 35 seconds.
Yep.
Debonair even making sure that there isn't gonna be that much, or a little bit harder of a challenge. Takes that blast cone, denies it over the wall. It's gonna be Infernal, so no Infernal Soul to play for, but Paragon and GFP are here in the vicinity, along with Paradise City. So As we mentioned, Paradise City on the bot side just kind of farm it up. Wants to get that last plate, which I don't think they're going to get. Might fall, but it might not be perfect. Either way, Dragon up in 10 means everyone's getting into it, as both top laners are actually proxying on the end.
I mean, both top laners are just doing the top lane special at the current moment. Likely just setting up for the waves to be in a relatively even state around this dragon. You can see both teams have drawn a line of scrimmage in the river, just trying to slowly etch up. This is no man's land at the current moment, but crucially, Weaver State in control of that mid lane.
And that's what's going to be the big play here. You can see a Weaver now trying to clear that wave even further. Dragon started up here. It is going to be down to about 4.5 and losing health. Fast in goes the unstoppable onslaught. Paradise is able to get over the wall. So that's Paradise just going to be gone. But no, he actually lives. The shift makes it work, and GFP actually turns for the battle. They're going to try and route out one, and they just chomp down on Mystiques. Mystiques is dead like a moss running interference, but Tao taking up a lot of HP. That's going to be Goku chunked out into the wall. Remember, no extra health, no extra shockwave. That is going to be a cannon, though, on Sendi's hand. Flash forward as Paragon tries to get the damage. Is going to be the barrier pop, but U13 was allowed to live, and all of a sudden it's danger abound as Paradise went right back to the bot side, so it's actually Weaver State University that come out with the triple. U13 happy about that one.
And they don't have the damage, Orbital! They had such a good setup. Paradise City managing to get out, but he might not be able to get out of this one. But Tao potentially looking to chop down this lawyer, saying, you might make more money than me, but I'm gonna get this bread.
Paradise City, the last piece to the delayed ace. Tried to push that tower, got it, but is now in definitive danger. U13 granted that kill as they are now 7-3-1. This scoreline for anyone would be terrifying, but the scoreline on a Belveth, even scarier. Like a Moss about to add a fourth death to their name, as Debonair even tried to get in with the quickness, but you weren't quick enough, and Unk's starting to lose ground here just after 16 minutes.
Man, just flashing back to that dragon fight, we saw it was the shockwave, it was the unstoppable onslaught, two huge consequential game-winning, fight-winning ultimates used onto Paradise City, and he gets out, and still Uncles are not able to turn that fight into a victory. They don't have those item breakpoints necessary to deal the damage. And we saw that in real time. So many members of Weaver just surviving on 1 HP. Luckily, though, Uncle's still in your relative proximity gold-wise. It's only one dragon over to Weaver, so the late game can still be, you know, a decent ways away. That late game win con not going to be readily available for Weaver for some time, so the options are still there for Uncles to continue scaling up, but that gives a lot of gold over to U13. Goku as well getting that solo kill, getting a lot more gold. And Batao going bird hunting.
That always hurts whenever you get knocked up inside of a brush like that. It's almost rivals an absolute zero from a Trier brush, and you're just like, I hate life. I hate everything. I dislike this game for having that in there, and you're just like, I shouldn't enjoy that. But it is going to be Batao still shoving Paradise out of this laning phase, who is still 1-3. Difficult time for them. Like a Moss, though, trying to hang on to this top side as U13 and Goku are now channeling a lot of extra damage. They go ahead and punch down that tower thanks to that Herald, and they're just going to farm this up, and I really like this call, as you called as well. It's just easy wins with the Stride Breaker done. This is U13 farming it up.
U13 in a much better position, I think, to be a carry than he was in game one on the Lilia. Has a lot better supporting pieces, the Orianna in particular. Great follow-up by Goku to just allow this Belveth to wreak absolute havoc in these fights, to look for more aggressive moves on the map, like that tower dive, just trapping Lycamaz between a rock and a hard place. And Weaver State University coming up big here as we get closer and closer to the 20-minute mark, Orbital.
When that mark breaks, I'll be very interested to see who comes out on top. Remember, In the earlier stages of game number 1, it was Unks a little bit further behind in the early game. Granted, not this far, but they were down a decent bit. About 24 minutes in, they started to come alive. They started to find those team fight wins. Let's see if they can do it here, as right now it's a chase here on the bot side. Debonair running interference, gets over, gets a great knock-up. Goku-chan does have flash, but Shockwave's on too, chasing up away from the try. Dashing away, but not getting out of that Q. The Rupture is just too good. Flashing away from the Impale, though, will keep them alive, but a burn on that Chrono Shift. Mystique's being able to save their mid laner.
Good patience there by Goku to save that flash until the Impale comes out. GFP, having his own flash, could have easily reacted and potentially looked for the Impale with his own Summoner Burned, but Goku managing to time it just right, and Uncles yet again looking just a little bit desperate to try and find something on the map ahead of this third dragon. This really is, I feel, where the game started to slip away from Uncles. They were doing a lot better before that fight, but now feels like the mood in the game has just swung over to Weaver State. The pendulum is on the other side, Orbital, but there is another opportunity for Uncles to turn around. You can see Paradise City sitting probably on a decent amount of gold, has teleport available, but look at that mid lane. It's the Zerg rush.
And you get one, and not only that, knock out the Arcane Shift, so U13 gets it with a handed victory as well. You're now pretty much decent HP'd up. You're gonna have a little extra damage with that hammer, plus the pickaxe. Paradise City still getting bodied out, meaning this is gonna be a 4v3 around this dragon, which, I mean, U13 is ready to make it even worse as Moss. You're not gonna enjoy this one. You're trying to get it over the wall. You have flash available, but I don't think you can. You flash at just a late moment, and that's gonna be the flash. U13 absolutely dies those. GFP saying, oh, you really want to try that one. Mystique's trying to dodge around from that Impale, but you get slammed into that wall, and then some great knock-up. That's gonna be the Chrono Shift yet again, but no extra power behind it. Tower falls, which means Goku-chan is gonna be joining in, but this is just a chase for chase 6 as Paradise City is gonna try and shove, but misses. That's a flash out from Sendy. What a great dodge to deny the Emperor's Divide, and GFP is next on the chopping block. U13 pinching the wall, and Pale going to miss as U dashes around, and WSU really striking home as their lead grows ever further.
And GFP falling means that it's going to be second Drake acquired for Weaver State. And look at the top lane as well, Orbital. But Tao is just pushing, pulling out the bow strategies on the Scion, putting pressure on the opposite side of the map. It's a teleport from Lycamos to react. And Weaver State just running ahead with this game. Uncles really split in that last exchange. They fell a 1-by-1, and Weaver managed to capitalize off of that. So 2 Drakes over to Weaver. We're still a ways away from that Baron, about 3 minutes, but the Otacon has spawned. So both teams eyeing that one like a kid with candy on the other side of the car.
They say, I want that candy bar as well. I want all the candy bars. Mystique's trying to run away for their life. Debonair able to get the charm number 1, knocking out the jump, but Sendy rightly stepping forward, dodging out on that Rupture. And you can see Debonair, they have been hunting, and we talked about in game number 1, there were some questionable engagements, but I like the fact that Debonair is always willing to jump up. However, like a Moss, really not enjoying their engagement as they are chunked out. One last hit could do it. Quick, that sword as you is now godlike, and there is no challenger on the other side. They might as well be mortal. Paradise City is more than mortal at this point. They're getting farmed like an NPC. Barely gets that shove up, but Tao is able to live, but you're still hanging on to that farm as Tao is now 229 CS in.
Tao caught between a rock and a hard place.
Oh,
look
no.
at how much time he's buying.
Oh, barely alive with about 50 HP, but are they going to be able to dance it forward? That's going to be a slam miss, but Tao gets an extra heal, but now the rest of the team comes in here, but Tao finally goes down, but the Otacon is taken, but Tao is burning so much time.
I mean, Patao stalled out Uncles for so long. It's an objective for Weaver on the top side. And you can see they're not even content with just going for that. The wave is pushing up toward that turret. They're going to be able to likely take that one. Sendy as Tristana just knocks these down so dang quickly. Uncles don't have the numbers to react. They're all on reset, just trying to run interference. And Uncles, they get the kill, but they're not going to be able to get anything else. You can see that Paragon is trying to put some pressure in the mid lane on that turret, but because the superior timing, the tempo is there for Weaver, they're just going to be able to read and react.
Oh, and poor Debonair has to burn the ult as well. Just trying to get out of harm's way. The fact that U13 is allowed to do this shows their strength right now. Stridebreaker, Kraken Slayer, plus the Cleaver. All these gonna bring so much more damage. Level 14 as well has farmed up so many souls. 10, 3, and 2. This is a nasty monster from the void that you do not want to meet on this plane of existence. Paragon as well in the mid lane, trying to get benefits of their own. And we're just kind of in this lull state while we wait for the Baron as well as the next dragon to spawn.
Yep, dragon up in about 2 minutes, so likely going to hit a bit of a lull state for the next couple of, at least the next minute or so before the teams really start to gravitate toward that bot side river. The question becomes, what are they going to do for the next 60 seconds? You can see that Uncles want to try and make a move, but they are getting the Uno reverse card on by Weaver, who are just trying to close their jaws around Uncles, but they managed to escape. So yeah, both teams just kind of dancing around each other until that objective comes up.
I mean, U13, that dancing means that you can take lives as well, willing to dash in. And we mentioned this in the earlier draft. The Zillion pickup surprised us. So let's be honest. We weren't sure exactly, but it banked on the fact that U13 had to get fed. It banked on the fact that, hey, we need a strong jungler, and then we just enable them to go further. That's what they're playing with, which is why we're seeing Mystiques just kind of follow the Bel'Veth around. You just follow U13, and whenever U13 decides to dive on in, ult them. All of a sudden, no one wants to deal with U13, even more so. Paragon, though, being forced to Arcane Shift, and now it's dive in.
My God.
No chance for escape. Paradise City barely getting the shove off and dashing away to their own safety. But Goku-chan wants the kill, zoning off Paradise from safety, and you shockwave him right back in. One last Q brings it, and that is the hunt from WSU as they are going to burn the HP bars away.
You know, Ezreal says you belong in a museum, but Paragon might belong in a cemetery. Very, very dead in that exchange. Weaver commit a bunch of resources onto the AD carry of Uncles. Their reward not going to be going toward the dragon. They have bigger fish to fry. That is going to be the Baron. So massive spike now here for U13. Another Void objective taken, so it's 3 minutes on that true form for this Bel'Veth, and ahead of that dragon, it gives a significant power boost over to the carries of Weaver State.
I mean, we mentioned the Otacon as well earlier, taken by the squad, and WSU really trying to find their own ride, trying to make sure to play by their own music, and they're doing it quite well here. They're going ahead, rushing down this bot side, which actually I really like. You go ahead and have, I believe, Batal running interference in the mid and top, going to be doing a 2-lane hold, while the rest of the team just powers through, and you can already see U13 as well. Make sure to claim this dragon just as a byproduct. Already going to go down on their own, so they're sitting on soul point if they need to fall back on it. Quite honestly, though, it feels like they can close it out here, like a monster trying to get extra gold for the team, but is it really going to be enough? This feels like last fight territory.
Absolutely. Weaver State, not even really concerned with overcommitting toward the dragon. They're just saying, let's keep our pressure on the bot lane, especially U13 with the Baron is going to be able to spawn a lot of those little Bel'Veth minions. It's just going to make that split pushing that much more deadly for Weaver State. You can see Uncles playing just Balloons tower defense. They're not playing League of Legends at this point, Orbital.
No, they absolutely aren't. Mystiques, though, taking a little bit low, and that's going to be Paradise trying to dive in because you were taking low, and that's going to be a knockback as well from Debonair, but it's a little too late. Now you get onto the tank. Moss is going to be shredded here. The poor Dinosaur can't do anything as that's a double for Sendy. 619, bring the Mysterio out. This feels like GG as we're headed to that game number 3. Uncles being put in the retirement home. They are denied a chance at this game. It's a hard chase straight into GFP's back as Batal gets a little bit of revenge. Down goes one Nexus tower, down goes the second, and down goes the final as we are headed to a finale.
Game 3 on the horizon. A convincing win for Weaver. And U13 in game number 1 on the Lilia, he had the resources to carry early on, but that didn't really translate well to the mid to late game Orbital. This time around, though, on the Bel'Veth, it translated immaculately. The transition was great from the jungler of Weaver. And I feel like in game number 3, they're most likely going to try and run back a similar strategy. Just give the ball over to jungle, give him a carry, have support and top play around him, and steamroll through neutral objectives. Really good plan by Weber here in game number 2, and a beautiful recovery after an unfortunate game 1.
Yeah, and I mean, we have to talk about the fact that, this little bit of a lane swap styling didn't exactly work as well as they wanted. Paradise didn't look great on that Azir. Now, granted, that might not have been their own choice. The multiple lane swap situations kind of caught all of us off guard. So my question to you, Quacks, is do we see the same kind of lane swap situation occur? Is that more just an evolution of how that draft went meant that Unks had to play into that? Do we see them play a little bit more standard come game 3?
I feel like Unks tried to branch out a little bit more in this game, so I think we're just going to see a return to form, a return to what worked in game number 1. I don't think they're going to be doing anything too flashy, too fancy, but the advantage, or, inversely, maybe the disadvantage of Fearless is that you can't run back the exact same comp. You can do the same style, but you've got to find different pieces to accomplish the same result. And so that is where my curiosity lies in the wake of what Uncle's plan is going forward for game number 3. How are they going to repeat the success of game number 1 with those champions being locked away behind Fearless? That, to me, is going to be the hump for them to get over in order to take a win in this series. But on the other side, really good stuff from Weber. I think they have the blueprint on how to win the game. They got it from game number 2. If they can do the same thing that they did and repeat that in game number 3, should be able to take it.
All right, well, we'll see if they can do it. Right now, we're going to go to a short break. When we come back, we'll get the conclusion to the Weber State University and Uncle's matchup to see who goes 2-1 here in the GSL of the Aegis Champions League. Don't go anywhere. It really does feel like it is going to be U13 versus the world at this point. This is getting out of hand with how U13 is showing up. And now with Uncles on that blue side, we'll have to see how they contend with that superstar in the jungle right now for WSU.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you were mentioning U13 being kind of the savior, the big guy on the side of Uncles. But for me, or rather WSU, but for me, Uncles is, big carry in that first game definitely was Paragon. And so I feel like they made a bit of a mistake throwing him on something like the Ezreal in game number 2, a champion that doesn't necessarily have immediate results. It was a good early game from them, being able to thwart that 2v3 gank, but Ezreal is a champion that just takes a really long time to warm up. And so I think, third game, we're definitely looking at Uncles to give that bot lane a little bit more a little bit more action, a little bit more damage-centric of a comp going into the third and final game. I think if they can do that, we should be seeing a lot more of a competitive, all-encompassing finale to this series orbital. But looking across the board, the band's relatively the same. We're on a side swap here for the third game, but Weber State still sticking to their guns, denying away that victor. The Viego as well being taken off the board.
Ooh, and we do have a little bit of a shakeup here. Once again, because Uncles don't have to ban out these routine champions, you can go ahead and ban away the Viego as well as this Volibear. A little bit of a shift up, once again, denying that maybe into that jungle form, making sure that U13 doesn't get comfortable in there. This is also the piece of the puzzle. Remember, Nefiri and Gwen are both red side bans, and yet WSU have actually opted for that power play of you take one, we'll take the other, and you get to decide which one. Unks, I don't think you're going to ban either one here because it might be a little bit dangerous to do so.
But still, the fact remains, leaving Gwen open is very, very dangerous. Yeah, Nefiri actually going to get banned by Uncles. Not really comfortable, I guess, piloting that one here for game number 3. You really got to index on that comfort, playing what you know how to play, and making sure that there are no loose pieces going into this third match. And so Nefiri not going to be picked up, Gwen going to be the last ban. So those are still going to be locked away here for this third game. Not going to see them at all for the series. Uncles, though, what do they want to prioritize? I would imagine that they either want to go for AD or maybe a top lane pick on this B1. There are still, some heavy priority ADCs up, but they're going to go for jungle instead. They're going to immediately give GFP a fighter.
I like this. You know what? Screw tanks. We're done with that. Let's go ahead and go for a solid early game style. And yes, the Xin Zhao might not be pure early or anything like that, but it's a little bit more dueling power. But this is opened up as well. As you mentioned, Goku having a very nasty Talia if given the opportunity. And we saw how well Goku was able to manage some of those mages in the mid lane. The Orianna actually had a shocking amount of value. Very, very powerful with those shockwaves and wave clear moments. And now the Pantheon comes out. A little bit different as well for U13. If that is in the jungle, a lot more early game oriented.
I actually really like this draft so far from U13. Talia with the Weaver's Wall and then Pantheon with the Grand Starfall means that you can be just about anywhere on the map at any time. I think this mid-jungle duo being able to traverse Summoner's Rift super easily is going to mean that the reaction to this cross-map play is will be really, really effective. And so I think Uncles now probably the idea of going for maybe a 4-1 comp, a 1-3-1 comp, trying to put pressure via split pushing is a bit locked away because these champions by Weber State have been picked up. And so I think the onus, the strategy going forward for Uncles is to say, all right, full-on team fight. Let's fight as 5. We know that we can't do much on the side lanes, but if we can overload a side of the map, if we can have a good front-to-back, then we can put Weber State in a compromising spot.
And I'm just a little bit surprised now. This is a direct challenge. I feel like a Moss, who last time played the Cho'Gath, was willing to take on that tank duty, but probably didn't enjoy it that much. Now going for a direct equal, trying to challenge, like you talked about, swap it up a little bit, get back to that same old style, not the constant lane swap dancing between, which means Paradise is now running that Cassante in the top lane, back on a tank as well. But we are playing that dancing style, that constant engage, that ability to rotate with the rest of your team. And they're going to draft the Camille on WSU's side, joining up with the Pantheon Talia type of dive composition.
So the Camille locked in. This is an extremely strong top side. And Weber State, I mean, we haven't seen insane carry performances from Sendy so far, and so I definitely think that we're comfortable putting him on something a little bit less resource dependent, maybe something like an Ash we could see in the future. But I think the onus for Uncles is going to be taking away a lot of those engage supports. You talk about the go buttons a lot, Orbital, and I think that despite the cross map play from Weber State, despite those ultimates being really good for following up on dives, they still don't really operate as the most effective go button. And so they need that if they want to really round out this comp.
Yeah, they need to have a little bit of interesting pieces, and there's another ADC that we did see banned out, I believe, all the way in game number 1 on the side of WSU. They take away the misfortune, don't allow Paragon, who, by the way, game number 2 still had some phenomenal outplays. That Ezreal was trying to stay away, trying to lay out the damage. Just again, got caught out. There's only so far you can run. The Misfortune and the Xayah do make sense. Punish that bot side, make sure Paragon doesn't get a comfortable matchup. At the same time, on the same form, Mystique's not being allowed these same 2 support bans that have, I believe, been the exact same all the way through through all 3 games.
I wouldn't hate like a Bard here, honestly. I feel like maybe that could be a good situation for Weber State. I like Bard here, if I'm being completely honest with you. A champion that loves to roam toward that top side, who could set up for a lot of these CC trains by Weber State, but they're actually going to hold the support until the last second. Gonna throw down the Ziggs in the bot lane instead. So double AP magic damage threat coming out here for Weber. And a lot of range added to the pot as well. Talia Zig's going to be a very potent, very punishing backline, as I believe they both build burn items, and so that should be able to hurt some of these frontliners in Zinzao and Cassante. Uncles, though, probably want to go for something that can get toward that backline, or at the very least punish them in that early game. Lucian going to be the immediate follow-up. Maybe Emilio could be really good here. Something early. Renata could also be really good if you want to really try to punish this Camille and this Pantheon, but it's a bit hard to see that with a double mage comp. That's not necessarily as effective. I like Emilio here, though. There's a lot of CC on the side of Weber State. There it is.
Might as well. I mean, I used to be able to say, hey, play that Nami and be able to kind of stay away, but I like the Emilio, as you said, a little bit more CC resistant, as everyone knows and loves. Very understandable there. But what do you match with it? As you called, a Bard here on the other side for WSU wouldn't be awful. Granted, you still have that roam ability. You still have a lot of range as well. You're not kind of pocketed into this. We're going to play our own way. And they play the Zillion well. But they want to have more engaged. They are going to lock in the Alistar and have that available to them to follow up on the dive. Still able to roam. Still able to have that power. But you got to remember, a Lucian Emilio means that this Alistar is pretty much going to be stuck in this bottom lane. I think Lucian Emilio want a lot of lane dominance.
Most likely, but I think that the Alistar actually has a lot more usefulness than, just providing the safety for the Ziggs in the bot lane. It also just provides a lot of safety for the backliners past the laning phase, right? You look at Uncle's comp, very, very short ranged. Right, Aurora isn't the long-range damage champion. Lucian is one of the shortest-range AD carries in the game. Alistar's ability to peel off some of those threats that try to get onto the backline will be really useful once those 5v5s start to roll around. And most importantly, it provides a, primary golden engage for Weber State to actually follow up on. We said that's what they needed. Alistar provides the ability for Pantheon, for Camille to follow up on those headbutt pulverizes. And so looking across the board, normally this is where we as casters like to give favor over to one comp or the other, but I can see arguments for both sides going into this third game, to be honest with you, Orbital.
Yeah, it is going to come down, I think, to that early game once again. And granted, I say that when Unks literally came out with game 1 after an amazing mid to late game turnaround. But game 2, I mean, this U13 has shown that they know how to get a lead and stay with it. And WSU have literally drafted a comp where it feels like it's ride or die by this early game. You get a lead, you get the Camille ahead, you get the Pantheon ahead, and you just roll through the squishies. I'm scared. I am really, really scared here. And at the end of the day, it's just for the Swiss bracket. These two are going at it like cats and dogs. And I love every single moment of it. So let's dive into game number 3 of Weber State University and Uncles for a chance to start 2-1 into the Swiss bracket.
I think there's certainly a moment where Weber State want to start putting their foot on the gas. And for me, that's certainly that level 6. Once you get those cross-map ultimates, once you get that special Pantheon plus Talia delivery by Weber State, you really got to start making those plays around the map, punishing bot lane, looking to set Paragon behind. This is certainly going to be a game where Paragon is looked at to be the carry, just like he was in game number 1 alongside Lycamaz. If Weber State can shut that down with those ultimates, they should be in a very good position going forward, because you chop off the head of this Lucian and it feels like Uncles just lose a significant amount of power going into that late game. They don't have as good of scaling.
No, it's gonna be a weird spot to be in. So we're gonna have to watch how this early game rolls out. As we said, Paradise on the Cassante will be interesting to watch. I feel like this is gonna be one of the more straightforward moments. These two, Paradise and Batao, have had an interesting series so far. Game number 2, caught in the lane swap situation. Game number 1, we saw Batao get a much better fight in between. With that, it was the brain lost. Oh my gosh, the Jace, of course. Jace against the Gragas. So there were so many interesting motions there, and I'm wondering if Paradise can also set up with this Cassante, because the Cassante could be that giant piece of the puzzle. It's like a Moss literally walking up, throwing down that extra damage, not having one more auto attack. As Goku-chan still dancing with absolute death, like a Moss. Look, maybe looking for the level 2.
Now both junglers probably eyeing that mid lane to try and run interference, but we just started the game, so there probably isn't going to be a visit right out of the gate. I say that, and immediately U13 is pinging toward the mid lane on this Pantheon.
I mean, this is the understanding. Like a Moss has to play a little bit further up, but now getting ganked and not having a way out. You are dead to rights. Well called here, and no tag on the back end. Gone to the win. Goku gifted a kill in the mid lane, or maybe a little bit of a reprieve from the earlier damage.
And I like that U13 actually gives that kill over to Goku. We talk about the importance of this mid lane matchup right from the get-go. This was the most interesting head-to-head we talked about Orbital. Lycamaz, a player that really showed his stuff in the open qualifiers on Daug fans, had 2 opportunities to promote, and was easily one of the biggest stars of that team, one of its biggest caveats to success. In Weber State, Goku has just always put the numbers up for his team, has always been a reliable mid lane carry, does exactly what the team needs him to do every single time. And so we're looking at this Talia, one of his more comfortable champions here in game 3, to be that difference maker. Getting that kill right out of the gate, certainly going to make the difference.
And not just that, being able to get a wave up on Lycamaz, because Lycamaz actively traded their CS specifically for those trades, and even tried to hop through a little bit of those realms, got knocked out a little bit, so HP didn't exactly go their way. At the current moment, though, we're looking down on the bot side and also seeing Paragon and Debonair doing things that Illusion Milio should do. Heavy CS lead, heavy lane control. If they wish to try and go for plates, they can a little bit later. But the jungle matchup as well. GFP on the opposite side as U13 looking to roam into the enemy side once again.
You can see U13, because he committed a few extra seconds toward that gank in the mid lane, is going to be slightly behind in tempo compared to GFP, who already gets his reset, gets his first back, and will be spotted on this Gromp by not just 1 ward, but 2 wards. And so I am interested to see if Xin Zhao will be able to make any use of that additional extra tempo that he got. He's looking, you can see, for a play in top lane, but seen by a bunch of vision, and Batao probably aware of where the enemy jungler is at this point.
Yeah, very healthy as well. You're able to get that cheater recall off a little bit, or at least stay very healthy. I shouldn't say recall, because you haven't really had to worry about that. So GFP just making sure this wave will fully crash, or at least try to. But Batao had a ward on top, knows that there is going to be a sweep, so Paradise doesn't even get the recall that they were hoping for. Now he's going to get chased out. Of course, GFP is still here, but
wow,
we're seeing these interrupts of so many recalls, which is a huge play from the side of WSU.
I mean, GFP has to just play bodyguard for his top laner, and you can see U13 is saying, all right, I mean, GFP hasn't even taken his second spawns on his top side yet. That's going to give an opportunity for the Pantheon, who is behind in tempo off of those first resets, to actually snag away a second Raptor camp. The vision from the bot side Crab is also gone, so there is a potential for pressure to be put on that Dragon as well. Overall, Batao just corralling this Uncle's top side and opening up advantages on the other parts of the map.
I mean, this is huge. Once again, WSU trying to enforce kind of their will into this game, making sure that Uncles play by their means, making sure Uncles play reactive as well. TP's expended towards that bottom side. Batao trying to keep measured pace, but Mystique's now joining in on the top side. Sendy trying to get out of harm's way. Paragon was willing to dance in to enemy side, but the Grubs this time being started up by GFP, whereas U13 is once again meeting in this mid lane, looking to try and get some help down. GFP still kind of waiting around the wings, and it looks like this might be a weird low collapse. GFP trying to flash away, but still gets caught by the moving earth. That means Mystique's in a really weird spot. Nice punch out though, as that's a 1-for-1. GFP was able to slay one before falling on their own. Great collapse in by WSU, but it only results in a 1-for-1.
And at the end of the day, Uncle's also managing to steal away one of the Grubs. They're also just holding firm control over this river, which means U13 can't go back and try to steal away the next two. So Xin Zhao immediately going to respawn, head toward that topside objective like nothing happened. It's a good look from Weaver State, utilizing that Weaver's Wall, just getting Goku in the fight instantly. But like you said, it only nets a 1-for-1. And no real advantage found there by Weaver at the end of the day.
Nope, it's just going to be a chance. However, this is going to be Weaver now looking for a lot more. Flash onto 2 as Mystique's ensures an awkward fight. But that's still going to be taken down. Sendy was kind of left alone, and you're able to take one, so you still claim the feat of warfare. But it is U13 that went on an opposite side, and because of that, GFP tries to run interference, and all of a sudden GFP is in a weird spot. Jumps forward, though, leaps into action, is able to trade it out. So it will lead to an even state overall, as it's 4 kills total to 4.
And Weaver State split in that fight. Goku joins up late and manages to play cleanup duty. So they wrestle control of this top side, push in this wave, and should be able to recoup their losses, but still, U13 trying to take down that backline. Debonair managing to survive, draws a lot of attention as the Melio. Now Paragon maybe looking for a solo kill.
You're going to try and dash forward, looking for the Q, and you do! Off the snipe of the mage minions. Well done by Paragon.
Paragon 2-0-2 on this Lucian, eating very good in this early game. Uncles being really privy and huge fans of the lane swap. It's had mixed results so far in this series between games 1 and 2, but game number 3, it is paying off here.
Dividends abound in that section, and right now it's Grubs yet again. All 3 finally taken about 3 minutes after they were started. Mystique's now getting chunked a little bit. Doesn't have ult, but is able to jump away. Paradise on the bottom side, beating up Batao. So overall, nice little grab on either end. Uncles, though, much happy about the current state of the game.
They for sure are, and Weaver State University not really having that vision on the top side means that they can't react to a bot side play, and they're going to try and look for something mid here, though, but they are met with fierce resistance.
Yeah, and I don't know if they want to fully commit here. Right now, WSU is saying, okay, we're good, but that's a dive in as GFP sacrifices their life for the rest of their team.
Good moving earth there by Goku to be able to find the kill. GFP not going to be able to get out of that one. No flash on the Xin Zhao, and so where we previously thought it was unobtainable for Weaver State to look for a cross-map play to threaten that dragon, now they have the green light with GFP sent back to the fountain, with Uncle scattered to the wind and on a reset timer collectively. So they'll be able to even out the score at the end of the day. We're even in kills, even in objectives. Pretty even in gold as well as we approach the 10-minute mark, and this is exactly what we want to see for a game number 3 Orbital. Down to the wire is this series, and we wouldn't have the final game, the finale of this best of 3 any other way.
Absolutely not. I want to see them play to the absolute limits because this is that testing ground we mentioned before, that for the side of Uncles, they need to find a kind of identity here. They need to find their true selves type beat here, mostly because they have had a couple lane swap situations. They've also had a couple player swaps, so they still need to find that moment. On for the side of Weaver State, though, they need to get the momentum, and right now the momentum's not in their favor as Sendy goes down for the second time this game.
And this is the time for Uncles to pull the trigger. It's Essence Reaver acquired by Paragon. That really is a huge breakpoint for Lucian in this early game. Add on that electrocute damage as well. Buffed a few patches ago. Makes it so difficult to actually out-damage this pick. But now you can overwhelm it with numbers.
You're going to try your best, but Debonair gets right back with the rest of the team. GFP going to run it interference, and they are going to keep Debonair safe. And here's the deal, even though they got the overload, it doesn't feel like it's actually going to happen for WSU as they have to back away.
Yeah, WSU not able to get a revenge kill onto Paragon. Really good disengage coming out there by Debonair, making it difficult for Weaver State to actually stick on to that back line. So both teams just going to go back to their respective sides of the map. Never mind, I say that, and immediately Paradise City is just going crazy.
I like that call. I like trying to force Batal out. Remember, this is what we mentioned before. Game number 1, Paradise was kind of bullied by that, by the Jace a little bit early on. Had great ultimates later, but in the early stages was a little bit rough shot. And granted, Paradise is still down. We got to point that out. Almost 40 CS difference right now as Batal has had a farming day all over again. But being able to still force a Camille out, still being able to challenge them to an extent, you got to put a little bit of fear into that Camille, or else the Camille is going to have a heyday just doing whatever they want.
I mean, I feel like the CS numbers just tell a story in this game about what we're going to be expecting from here on out, Orbital. You can see, like you said, a lot of CS for Batal, but Goku having similar numbers, and then on the other side, Paragon having close to 10 CS per minute. Those are the carries for their respective teams, but Paragon in particular has been getting just a lot more resources outside of just CS on this Lucian.
Right now, the resource that you're actually losing is going to be that HP, but in the mid lane, we're seeing Moz get shoved out. What a TP timing!
Ooh.
The satchel almost took them out, bounced them right back, but because they were in their ult, they were able to be able to teleport away.
Yeah, so they get on out. Fancy footwork there by Lycamaz. U13 even trying to maybe wrap around, look for shenanigans, but that bunny is gone, little bro.
I just, watching like Amaz be able to dance away from what, not 1, not 2, but 3 or 4 pressured ganks makes you feel pretty good. Granted, you're losing pressure. Sendy is still having a really good time pushing in this mid lane, allowing Goku to rotate out. But your Aurora is going to be doing some damage here. That's going to be 4 total grubs taken away, so GFP doesn't want to risk any further death, and neither does Batal. So this is going to be a gift of 2 grubs over to the side of WSU, as they're going to hang on to that one.
And they don't even have to. Like you said, they got the 4 grubs. They immediately get out. They recognize that Batal has a flank angle, that WSU have the opportunity to just surround them in the river, so they're not going to fall for it. They got their objective, but Batal is getting corralled in.
Oh, and that was a bait and a half, but Batal barely goes down thanks to Paragon jumping forward. Paragon now getting jumped on in return. The healing and the shielding is there, though, as you're able to scatter away. Sendy is going to come in on the side, but the damage has already been done. It's GFP and Paragon to stay alive for hours, it feels like, and now Sendy may have TP'd into the worst spot imaginable as a top side topples for Uncles.
And it's a 4-for-1 for the Uncles. Paragon with the fancy footwork and GFP there to follow. He cancels the escape from Batal, gives an opportunity to his ADC to wreak absolute havoc, and he does just that. He gives his life, but that is a worth it trade if ever I've seen one. Top lane turret to fall. Goku is going to be able to trade on the other side, but Uncles with a critical mid-game fight.
I mean, that was even... that felt like it was just a testing moment. Hey, how far can we force Batal into an awkward situation? And it was amazing. And I don't think WSU were expecting that quick of a burn. Now that you've lost so many members, you have to look at this dragon and say, I don't think we have full control. We get here early and set up wards, that's great, but we need to take someone out first, which is why you can see him looking at like a Moss, who is still in this mid lane, playing very comfortably on the Swifties. It looks like no one else is going to challenge, so I mean, you're looking at WSU going, thank God, at least we're able to get this objective for our team.
They get the double dragon, so soul stacking certainly in their favor, but it's kind of a consensus, I would say, amongst the league community. You know, second dragons can be given over to one team, even if you're behind, but third Drake is a completely different story, and I feel like that is certainly the case here in this third game, because Uncles, despite giving up those objectives, are still not behind. I don't think they're feeling the pressure of those first two Drakes. You can see that Herald is also coming up very, very shortly, so they can potentially look for that and then look to use that as sort of a conduit to put pressure on the bot side, establish vision in that part of the map and in that river. And Weber State University don't really have a carry that they can play through just yet. You can see that Goku is 3-1, getting very close to those two items, but with how in your face this Uncle's comp is, it's not really a threat, I would say.
No, I mean, you're just like, okay, I'll do what I can, I'll throw what I can at you, but Paragon has been able to stay alive 5, 2, and 4 for their own. Like a Moss for their own. Only died once so far, is going to be a threat towards the mid game. There goes that ult, but again, the Weaver's wall kind of puts you in a dangerous spot, and everyone backing away. Paragon able to stay alive. Debonair will absolutely sacrifice their life for the team, and it's yet again annihilation, as that's a 2 for 3 so far. But guess what? Leica Moss is still very healthy. One more tag will lead to a double, and Sendy can't do anything. Paradise here just for the support.
And it's Paragon yet again wreaking absolute havoc. He falls, but this man is a martyr. He dies for the cause, and the cause is good. As Paradise City is just playing around with the turret, taking a bajillion tower shots, but he's Cassante. 4 bajillion years of collective game design is nothing. It is, you know, just more than a match for the turrets. The Herald, though, certainly is not, as it looks like Uncles are going to be able to take this one away.
I mean, this feels like they are starting to steamroll. Now, granted, if they get picked off, maybe there is something, but as you called, it feels like the damage just isn't there. We're still waiting for some of those breakthrough moments for the side of WSU. GFP having that Crescent Guard ready to go, 5, 3, and 7 in their own, could be a dangerous monster in their own right. Like, everyone on the side of Uncles is starting to come awake. They have woken up from their midday nap, and they're just like, yeah, we're ready to play. We're ready to get right back to work. And it really does feel like a Moss is also becoming that naysay player. Earlier on, it was all Paragon. It was all Paragon in the bot side with Debonair. But like a Moss getting some kills under their belt, that Leandris is quickly going to explode into what? Also, some ranged item, you know, the crit side of that AP. Nasty work can come from this Aurora.
And I love how Uncles are playing sides. I mean, look at the positioning of GFP and Debonair. They know that Batao may be looking for an opportunity to pick off Lycamos, so they stay in shadow. They shadow their mid laner and just wait for any opportunity to get the jump on these stragglers by Weber State. They're not going to get a straggler, but they will probably get a turret instead. And honestly, I mean, we talk a lot about how important it is that Uncles are active on this bot side of the map. This certainly is a more worth it trade than just a singular kill, I would say.
100%. I would sit there and agree. Like a Moss, happy about this pacing, but U13 not willing to give up this game just yet. It's a Hextech Soul to play for right now, and that means big things for the rest of the team. U13 really wants to make sure that you keep eyes, allow Batao to farm up properly, as they kind of identify that Batao is going to be that late game scaler. We've seen Camille's really do some damage late game, and you're hoping to at least chunk out one of the carries before fight start. Tower goes down. It is going to be in their hands. They are able to close some of that gold gap. You can see that Mega Inferno Bomb going out here. And GFP now diving in the top side, but on the wrong side of the map means that you're kind of alone here, and you're going to try and flash away Crescent Guard to keep yourself safe. But that Satchel, is it going to come out? No, you are safe for the rest of the time because that Herald was laid down. So nice little rebuttal here as Paradise still dancing with Batao on the top side.
It's pressure on the top side, or rather the bot side of the map, but it is not without its consequences there by Uncles. We talked about this a lot in the draft about how hard it is to overload sides when you are facing a Talia and a Pantheon. And GFP luckily manages to get out, but that could have easily turned into disaster. And Weber State could have maybe, with a numbers advantage, wrestled control of this bot side river, but luckily that does not come to fruition. All the members of Uncles are still alive and well. Neither top laner having teleport means that we are probably going to see a 4v4 fight, if anything, for this dragon on the bot side.
And honestly, it could be that big play option because for this other side, but Tao is starting to win out hard. Ooh. That's going to be great. Oh, against the wall into that
This
perfect 1v1s. U13 still makes it a 1-for-1. But that's a dub at the end of the day for Paradise as that draws the jungler away. Dragon gifted over to Uncles.
And get your showmaker Cassante copy pastas in the chat. Paradise City putting the hands on Batao. Because like you said, it's not just a trade for kills, but a dragon gifted to the Uncles as well. Lycamaz, though, doesn't know that he is potentially stepping into a trap.
U13 recognizing that, but Lycamaz being able to dance out, might be able to take one for their own snapback with that Q, but it's not really going to burn. All your spell rotation should be up. Now they're calling the TP. Goku trying to finish this fight off as quickly as possible, but the damage just isn't there. Flash of Blade to the short end of that bomb, but it's not going to do enough, so that's a great kill number 1. Now, can the rest of the team get out to safety? They are all on the top side. U13 running for their life. Mystique, though, getting shoved back. You do have that Unbreakable Will, but it's already worn out. And now Paragon is ready to fire away. Big bomb to come out, plus the satchel, though. Bring Paragon straight into damaging side. This is still Paradise to try and grab at least one, but you're not able to. Disengage out from the rest of the team.
Oh, Weaver's Wall,
though, the fight's not done. All of a sudden, WSU are showing that the fight's not over. A quick snap by Goku on the Talia to stay alive and save this fight. It's a triple and an ace for the side of Weaver State University.
And Weaver come up when it matters most. A beautiful play there by Goku and Batao, the solo laners, putting in the work for their team, saving them from an absolutely annihilation level top lane fight. Lycamaz, where are you going, my friend?
Oh, that hurts so bad. We were praising Unks for so long. It felt like the game was in their hands. And yet, a crucial overstep on the top lane unleashes Goku, Super Saiyan, I don't know what number, on their butts. And we're now back into a WSU-led game 3.
Yep.
Cray in the lead. 2 dragons to their name. Towers leaning in as well.
You blink and you miss it. Suddenly, Weaver State up in gold, tied in kills. And I like that you pointed out the dragons. We said previously that once you get those second dragons, any team, no matter how far behind, if the other team allows it, they will be willing to give those up. That third dragon was a different story, but now with these past couple of minutes just really going the way of Weaver, they are more than willing, more than resourceful enough to actually go for these fights. It is not a completely doomed situation for them on that bot side anymore. They actually have some oomph to them. And I definitely think that the biggest beneficiary of these last few minutes is Goku. 6, 2, and 5 on this Talia, nearing that third item as well. You can see that Blighting Jewel is in inventory, so we'll start to really put the damage on those frontliners as much as he is on that back line as well.
And I think the unsung, another unsung is Sendy right now. Sendy 3, 3, and 7, also completing the same number of items with double burn in the back pocket. Leandri's plus Blackfire torches. Rocking out anytime anyone walks over the minefield, anytime anyone walks into a satchel or bomb, they're burning away. That's a huge amount of damage as well. And not only that, they're the only ones to also pick up that grievous wounds, meaning the Cassante isn't going to be healing as much. The GFP on the Xin Zhao won't be healing as much. It also kind of negates what Debonair is putting out. Paragon isn't living through these fights as much as they were before. So a lot of pieces starting to come together for WSU that Uncles should be aware of with a minute left to Dragon. They're also trying to buy up and get ready in their own item break.
Like you said, Orbital dragging up in about 60 seconds. Weber State, the waves in mid haven't yet crashed, so you cannot really give the advantage of priority over to one team or the other, but you can see Sendy is hoping to get the early jump on it, looking to clear it out with Goku. The backliners of Weaver making use of their range and now rotating down toward that bot side river. But Tao as well on this Camille maybe could look to set up for a flank. That Hextech Ultimatum is really good for buying time for the rest of Weaver to just join up if there is a pick to be had by this Camille. But you can see Uncles are playing this bot side very cautiously.
I don't think Uncles want to make a single misstep. They know the fights have turned. They know items have changed, and yet Paradise still trying to run front side, which I do appreciate. However, they're getting jumped on, trying to stay safe here, but they're about half health. Paragon in the same, but now it's the time for GFP to get caught. Are you kidding me? And now it's like a loss to the same. Uncles are falling one by one, and WSU take them to school in a 501 masterclass.
Weber State University just going balls to the walls after that 2-0. They wanted more, and they will get more. It's a mid lane turret. It's 3 kills. They're saying, screw the dragon, screw the soul point. We want the biggest prize on the map, and the Baron is the last casualty of this exchange.
Weber State University showing what they can do. Goku reaping the benefits at 7, 2, and 7. Yes, Dragon started up on the other side, but Tao is going to run interference and just being annoying. Goku even TPing in to help out, but Tao's not going to flash away. Goku running straight into the dangerous zone as Paragon is actually, oh wait, this isn't a true team fight. I can do this. Shuts down Goku, and that is a mistake and a half. Dragon, though, still denied, which I think was the big calling card. And the rest of WSU have to back away. Everyone on the side of Uncles is currently alive. This Dragon should go the way of Uncles, and it's a little reprieve. They are able to even up the Dragon score. But man, that Baron, a lot can be done here for WSU. Especially with those,
you know, that the teleport from Batao is up. Those cross-map ultimates from Goku and U13 are up. This is a perfect comp to go for a 1-3-1 because no matter how or where Uncles decide to put their pressure, Weber State can always react. They can always be there. That is what has allowed them to be so proactive in this late game because anytime Uncles look for a pick, think that they have an angle to catch off a straggler, there's the Pantheon or there's the Talia right there to cover the play.
Let's see what more they can do here. Batao, ready to step up, has the GA in pocket, still sitting on tier 1 boots, by the way, just does not give a crap, which I love. Seeks, though, getting caught out just a wee bit. GFP slowing them down, and now the Seeks realizing that they have to pop the ult. They're only level 12, and the culling is doing so much work here. Even with the locket, it is just powering through. And Paragon saying, I can still do some damage. So, great defense of the bot side tower, but Tao still holding on, though. Has that Baron buff, wants to get a swing, and is actually going to ult in, and that is such a good bait. Knocks them out of the hooks. And that is going to be the GA popped in half. GFP ready to help out once again. Quick snap on the damage. And Mattel routed in 1v3. Easy shutdown for Like a Moss.
And that is not how Batao wanted to use his Guardian Angel proc. So that is a huge thing to be burned by the side of Uncles. It denies so much more. It denies that safety away from the Weber State top side. It makes Batao just going into any of these fights that much more consequential because he doesn't have that safety net. So Uncles now, with the numbers advantage, they are going to press their advantage toward this bot side orbital. U13 does have that ultimate, the ability to react, but Paradise City is keeping him busy, preventing him from actually answering and confluencing with the rest of his team.
And I think that's a great call. Once again, WSU making sure to play the map appropriately. This is a time where all the fights have kind of slowed down and you have to play carefully as well. Even though the game is turning in your favor, Goku is now alive. The Tao is starting to come online. Sendy does the same. You still have a relatively weak jungler, U13. This is about as strong as that Pantheon is going to get. So rightly ensuring that the lane state is good, making sure you travel with the rest of your team. And as you called, sectioning Paradise off. These are all things that the WSU squad are going to have to continue throughout the entirety of this game, because one death could mean the end. We are reaching that 30-minute mark, which means about 40 to 45 seconds on the death timers.
Yeah. And no real objective spawning for another 2 minutes. Weber State, I really just want to see them make use of that split pushing. Goku is on the bot side of the map. You can see that there is a lot of shadowing being done by the rest of Weber, but no real pressure put in any of these other lanes as, oh no, U13.
That was such a great ult from Paradise, drawing him in to the 1v5. GFP, though, now getting caught out. Pops that Crescent Guard to stay alive, but in comes Goku. Goku trying to section out the fight. Slows down the rest of Uncle's engagement. Mystique's trying to keep everyone else away, but that's going to be Goku getting one, but Paragon is alive, and that means they get the fight. In goes Batal, though, to trade out the lives. Like a Moss straight to the backline. Same with Batal. Top laners duking it out, but like a Moss hunting this poor Yordle, but Sendy sends him home. This might be the turnaround. WSU say we still got the jam, and Sendy running out of mana very, very quickly, though, and it's a battle of the burns. The minefield slows them all down, so Sendy gets out alive. It's a 4v3 at the end of the day, but it could have easily been an ace for ace.
That is 7 members down, and the 3 that live to tell the tale limp away from the battle, scarred, bruised, and battered. Still really good look there from Uncles. Like you said, crucial all-out from Paradise City to catch out U13. Weber State trying to equalize out that kill score, looking for any opportunity. Mystique's flashing in, maybe trying to just isolate a member of Uncles and get a pick. Willing to trade his own life for it, but that goes awry. It's a messy, scrappy fight, but still Weber State crucially hold on to pressure of this river ahead of this dragon.
And right now, U13 in a really bad spot. You don't want to die right before it, you do!
Oh, no!
That was a contained battle as well. U13 losing their life, and now the rest of WSU go, man, we just got so much there. And now our jungler's down for about 45 seconds. Dragon will be up in just a bit, but they can even chase down mid. I love the fact that Uncles are even hunting for an inhibitor.
For sure, Uncles are on the prowl. The Dragon is up. The Baron will be up in about 20 seconds too. Uncles have a lot of choices that they have to make here. Do they put pressure in bot lane? Do they send some people to clear out vision top side? But they're first going to decide to put some pressure in the mid lane, take down that turret with numbers advantage. But U13 is up in about 10 seconds. Uncles are actually holding their fire. They're not immediately rushing the Dragon. They're actually going to respond to this mid lane push. But this feels like, I feel like it's the wrong play. U13 has his ultimate up. He is officially respawned. You had your opportunity to go for the Dragon, but that time is past, Weber State.
Well, of course, for their own, they're drawing everyone away. They actually want another battle here. It feels like that's what they're chasing for. That's what seeks to jump in on Leica Moss. Leica Moss down to about half HP. But Paradise City draws GFP in, and this time it's GFP's turn to fall at the beginning of a fight. All of a sudden, it's Uncles that are in the wrong spot at the wrong time. Annihilation coming out as WSU take 3 in a quick 5v5. There is no chance to run away. Paradise brought back to reality, and that was a Hail Mary. U13 with the crash down, sectioning off everyone else as WSU hunt for the base.
No longer Paradise City, looking like Gotham City. Things are bleak, grim, and depressing for the Uncles. As they had their opportunity, they had their chance to go for the Dragon, but they weren't able to make use of that time. And now, like the Moz is completely left to the Wolves.
No chance to hold. GFP just respawning. Reverse sweep done as WSU take the victory, move up 2-1 here in the ACL.
Weber State, such a battle back after that first game. Game number 2 looking super convincing by them, but game number 3, you know, it was a battle, it was a back and forth, but you gotta give credit. over to Goku on his tried and true famous, or if you're against him, infamous Talia, and he manages to live up to the hype. 10-4-10 on that pick, carries his team to the promised land, and now Weber State 2-1 ahead of the Swiss stage orbital. So they are halfway there to 4 wins, halfway to securing playoffs. And they got to be feeling good about their spirits going into tomorrow against GVU and Seawolf.
I would agree. They're going to be so happy moving in there. At the same time, that momentum shift can't come without some caveats. We looked at Uncles and we talked about them finding their identity. I think they did.
Yeah.
Honestly, very scrappy mid to late game team fights. And we have to remember, they're still working at a partial capacity. Still a couple swap ups. Paradise, very, very large respect there. Stepping in, I don't know, maybe at the last moment or so. Obviously listed as a sub, but not the main roster. So I'm curious. I feel like this team can go so much further, and starting at a 1-2 into the Swiss, I don't think is going to hamper them at all. I feel like this is a team that we could see move on into the playoffs.
For sure. They showed a lot of promise. They showed a lot of fight against Weber State, who have, in their own right, I think, really leveled up in 2025. A lot of people had, I would say, mixed reactions to Weber in 2024, but it really feels like they came into their own this season. They have looked a lot better, and I think if you are able to, punch up to a team like that as Uncles, you should be happy. So I am, like you said, Orbital, I am looking forward to seeing what this team can do at max capacity. They're only at 1-2. It's not the end of the world, but they will be slightly lower in the seeding going into that Swiss stage. So take with that as you will. Still, though, congratulations to Weber. Really excited to see them in the future of the ACL. Really excited to see them in CLOL tomorrow as well. If you're a fan of this team, go check them out tomorrow. Not sure where the broadcast is going to be, but almost certainly there will be someone covering that series on Twitch.
Yeah, and if not, then, go hit them up as well. Go see what they got. I'm sure someone will be happy to show off their momentum-based glory throughout the entire weekend. And, of course, with us at the ACL, we very much enjoyed it. My name is Orbital. With me has been Quacks. We want to give a big shout-out to Icefire Cast on that production side. And, of course, the Salt Mine for allowing us to put on this show for you here today. This amazing 3-game series. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you all next time.